just a small group of people that put it together. It's a massive input from everyone in the area and all our sponsors and that.
And the thing that's really important about this too is the fact that, you know, we do have people that ride at an elite level and that they run at those events to win the event. But I suppose it's also about so many people with their families that come up, and it's a social event for them as much as it's a competition event. It's an event that really is a challenge for them to want to finish. But you can't support numbers like that without a group of people that do so much work in the background to help support all of the bits from the Friday night scrutineering that we do out at Condong Park with the Reckless Football Club, out towards the event on the Saturday for Prologue and for the juniors with the Nanji Footy Club, and all the people in that region help out. They're just incredible, aren't they?
Yeah, the support that this event gets from local community groups, footy clubs, anyone we've approached over the last several years, 10 years, to help us out, all put in such a huge amount of effort. And it has made the event what it is, and we can't do it without them. Those other clubs that are involved put in such an effort that we can't provide the staff for. It's just phenomenal, the community support and that comes from this area.
And the other thing too, Wade, you know, we talk about last year how it really got rained out, and it really was a left-hand turn that we never ever expected to have happen. But I suppose, you know, Jen, you look at what did occur, and even after everything stopped, there were still people doing things in the background, and people that were connected with these volunteers out there working throughout the afternoon, recovering bikes and guys and making sure everything was ticked off from a medical point of view. It does not happen without all of those people so tightly connected to it.
The volunteer groups that we have, they're probably as dedicated to the event as what we are, which is pretty hard to find when you're dealing with a football club. They're not a motorbike club, but they've got a dedication to the event. It's an income stream for them. Without that income this year, some of these clubs and community groups, they're going to suffer as well. So, they share the pain.
And guys, this before the actuality of cancelling must have been agonising, because you had like this news coming out of state government, out of federal government, saying you can do this, then you can't do this, you've got to have this social distancing. Some of the teams, some of the factory teams may not have even been able to attend even if you'd run the event, because they had their own infrastructure with bringing people in. So it was just a nightmare, wasn't it?
We looked at the logistics not only of locally, but we had to look at, we bring timing in from Queensland. And yes, those border closures were probably the biggest thing that it helped definitely me from a coordinator's point of view make that call and say we might be able to get local riders and Victorian riders in, but we rely on so many other services from outside of our state, and the logistics just didn't work.
And imagine, Jen, in the last few days, in Victoria specifically, where we've seen a dramatic spike in Melbourne, we could have said, yep, we're going to run this, and we would have been, up until last weekend, half a chance. Everybody's organised, you've got all that stuff, everyone spent all their money, and suddenly you wouldn't have been able to run this event anyway.
We wouldn't have been able to run it, and we've also got as a community group, we've got a responsibility to our community to keep them safe as well. And the last thing we ever wanted to do was put any danger onto our community and bring anything into the district. So we had big responsibilities to a large group of people, not only our competitors, our supporters, but the local community and business houses as well. So, it wasn't an easy decision.
Oh, I love the sound of that. Now, I don't know if you can hear that or not, but I just heard a drone take off, which means that Tex is out there about to do something cool, which will give you some idea of where we're at, and this facility, because this complex is great. I've actually been here to see sidecars as well as solo bikes here on the flat track, on the dirt track stuff. But you've got a great motocross track here as well.
And it's great because it's only 30 seconds from home. I'm not travelling 50 k's down the road.
So there you go. Here's a bit of a look at what we're doing here live with Tex right now. He's up there flying the drone above the facility. Is it 23rd? Is it 23rd Street just out
23rd
here?
Street.
Yeah, and there's actually a remote control planes area here as well. This is a very busy motorsport community in this part of the world, but that's where we are. It's a great little facility and a great track. There's such an incredible motorcycling culture in this region. It's like phenomenal. Speedway, motocross, desert racing. Where do you think it comes from, guys?
That's a question for Murray.
Oh well, I think it's the area and the facilities. Well, not even the facilities. The natural terrain that people have here to ride in when they're younger, and kids grow up riding motorbikes here, and farming communities. A lot of kids come out of farming communities and come here and ride, and that's that's their bread and butter. They do learn to ride early here, and that ability for young riders to come here and ride is such a big culture in the club.
I think that's the word I was looking at, that I was about to drop on the table for you as well, was the culture.
Yeah.
The culture of this region is such that everybody's been doing this for forever.
Yeah.
And it's not uncommon to see grandfathers, fathers and children working their way through to do what exactly the family has done forever and a day. And they've all grown in this region together to do this. And the fact that we're no different to satelliting where other regions do the same, and it's that natural crossover where we all come together to compete at events like Hattah to prove that that bond is so strong, and that we are truly a family as one in competition as much as we are in just the way we ride.
And you have guys like Ken Reid who have basically delivered in an air filter. I mean, these babies have come through and they've become motorbike people from the start. It's good to catch up with you guys. I know it's not the location and the situation that we wanted, but you've all, your committee's done a phenomenal job and worked your butts off. We're going to talk about that throughout the course of the next couple of hours. Thanks for dropping in, and Muzz, Oliver Macchiato, please, if you don't mind.
Oh, a macchiato.
Yeah.
Don't know what that is. So.
We're going to take a quick break. We've got Tex up there doing some aerial stuff, and when we come back, plenty more guests on the other side of this. It's our Penrite Hattah Desert Race presented by Optus Communications. It's our highlights, what would have been if it could have been show. Great to have your company.
Championships are won and lost on and off the racetrack. When performance is required and reliability matters, turn to an Australian-made and owned product you can trust. Championship winning oils by Penrite.
Good chance for us to talk about what this event actually is in a moment, thanks to our great friends at Penrite. And we're going to talk to our great mate Jared a little bit later on. I wish we were talking to Marg.
Absolutely. She is a superstar.
What a tremendous, tremendous lady. I want to talk with you, Johnny, and with our next guest about what this event actually is, how many, like the distance of the laps and how many riders we have and what they actually do. Because if you looked at it, you go, oh, that's motocross. To the outsider looking in, it's not motocross. It's an extremely different discipline.
Absolutely it is. It is very unique. It's an event that is an extension, I suppose, of some other events that are run in the country that are very similar. But this event is something that is held over 3 days. We prepare it as a scrutineering evening to start off with on a Friday night. And what that's about is just getting all of the bikes together, and that's juniors and seniors. So absolutely everybody's there. Not only do we get the opportunity to scrutineer those bikes, because we really wouldn't be able to do it on the day that we compete for the juniors on Saturday or even for the seniors on Sunday. So we do that on the one evening, and we actually have that as a community-based event where everybody gets to come down and have a look, talk to the riders, meet them. We put on a number of other activities that happen throughout that Friday night. So it's a really good opportunity for all of the people that are involved with the event, to whatever level they are, competition, families, spectators, you name it, to gather and connect and to be able to shake hands and meet up with one another again for what is an awesome event.
Hundreds and hundreds of riders, literally hundreds of riders, riding throughout the desert in a place that, I've got to be fair, and we'll bring Gary Leeson in here to have a bit of a chat as well. No one would have heard of Hattah outside this region had this event not happened. It's made Hattah worldwide.
Oh, absolutely. You know, you're right there, Wade. Hattah originally started back in the 70s, and it was actually canned by the conservation people, and then it was reignited in 1997 by some very motivated club members from this club. and it's just gone from there. It's turned into a monster in an event from 1997.
It's a good
which
word
was back
for it.
as a club enduro. It was called the Hattah Enduro.
Yep.
To being renamed the Hattah Desert Race, an open event which attracted all the major teams, the pro riders, and riders from all over the world, basically. So yes, it is a monster event. There's no doubt about that.
And it truly has taken off in a way for some of those riders that have come to race at this event, maybe not really understanding what the event's truly about, knowing what they want to compete in, but then actually riding it and seeing how hard it is. It's sent some of the world's best away. I mean, we look at some of the guys that we've had. I mean, even Toby Price as an example. This guy came and had a good look at this event, and he put it right up on that pedestal to say this is one of the hardest ones to ever win. So it is a monster of an event, absolutely, but the strength to actually continue to just keep driving it, and it just keeps delivering something different every year. It's just incredible, isn't it?
It certainly is, John. It's a breeding ground for off-road motorcycle races, that's for sure. And over the years, we've seen some tremendous juniors come up through the ranks that have become world-class riders in their own right. And on a local level, we've got some of the best riders here as well. We're going to talk to one of them a little bit later on, but we've had some fantastic success. One of the greatest riders we've had from here was Warren Smart. Warren won 5 events equal to Toby at this stage, so it's just been fantastic. For most riders, it is tough. It is extremely tough. It's a love-hate relationship. There's no doubt about that. Most riders, if you speak to them Sunday night after the event, they're never coming back. We won't see them again, but they do. The blisters heal, and within time, they do. They all come back.
It's an amazing concept to have basically 3 tracks. I mean, you've got the junior track on one side of the highway, you've got the prologue track for the seniors, and then you go across the road. The whole thing, it's like picking up a city and transplanting it over the other side of the highway.
Yeah.
It blows my mind.
It's an incredible feat, and the tracks that we present here at Hattah are just absolutely world class. There's no doubt about that, and that's testament to Kenny Reid and his track crew.
Yep.
What they put on for the weekend for the juniors and the seniors and the prologues is just absolutely fantastic, and then that's why the riders keep coming back.
And I think the other thing that we need to touch on too is that it is one of the very few desert race events anywhere that actually does cater for juniors. We have a number of different categories within that junior division. And on top of that, Wade, we also have a division where we run our women's class as well on the Sunday. So it's catering for every piece that we need for motorcycling to cover off on.
Yeah, you're spot on there, Johnny. With the juniors, the Hattah Desert Race has its own set of rules and regulations, which is the supplementary regulations. So we've kept it traditional. So we've got more junior classes than what they run in the national off-roads or the state series. The reason why we've done that is that we get more kids up on the podium. So it's fantastic to see the little guys get up there and thank their parents and their sponsors and everything else. So our classes are different to everything else, which creates a bit of a headache when it comes to the race secretary's role, but it's fantastic, and we're going to stay traditional.
And the other thing that's really cool to see, Wade, is
talk about the medals.
Is the bit at the end when the juniors finish. We have so many of our key elite riders that will actually hold around after the prologues that they do, and technically they could finish their prologue and head back into town and rest up for what will be race day Sunday for them. But we have so many of them that put their hand up to say, you know what, I'm not heading back to town, I'm hanging around, I'm actually going to stand there and help give medals out to these juniors that are finishing. It's so touching to see, it's just incredible, and they give so much, because I can remember talking to Toby Price about this at one stage, and I said to him, mate, it's getting dark, you can head off any time you want. He said, I'm hanging around, I'm actually going to hand trophies out, because what this sport has given me is only a piece of what I'm giving back right now, and I've got lots to give back. And every one of them say exactly the same thing, and it's so touching for those kids to get that.
It's rare. It's like when you see the football players get presented their medals at an AFL premiership, and the kids are the ones that do that, except it's the other way around. Gaz, can you stick around? We've got lots more to talk about, and we're going to bring a bloke in a moment. One day when he's 95 in an old folks' home, he's going to demand that they fit an engine to his hospital bed, and he's still going to do laps at that age. Kenny Reid is going to join us after this break.
Hey, darling. So I was thinking maybe we could all go out for dinner.
Oh, I wish, but I need to finish this prezzo.
Oh, that's cool. I'll just take the kids. Okay, all right, bye. Thank you. What can I get?
Champagne, sir? Bring your
family together. What? New Optus Family Plan includes 4 SIMs and the McAfee Safe Family app.
Yeah, there are legends of the sport and then there are legends of the sport. This bloke has it so bad, Johnny Kontrec.
He has, and he is a superstar.
I went for a lap with him. I got to do a lap with him. I went in the four-wheeler and did a lap, but I just couldn't believe it. The track kept going and going and going. Ken Reid, this sport is in your blood, wholesale.
Yeah, you could say that. I've got a bit of a passion for it. I've got a passion for everyone that rides it, what we all do. Gaz has touched on it before. It's all about the safety and the smile on the kids' faces and the seniors' faces, and it's not about them coming to do it once. We want them to come back and do it again next year, and that's what we're about, and the safety of it.
And it's an incredible event that just keeps churning over, and you see so many of those juniors turning into seniors, and they just keep bringing back their families. It must make you proud to know that you're putting on the best race that you could ever put on anywhere in the country and have people enjoy it.
Yeah, we've been really lucky with injuries over the last few years. And we think that's why, because we've taken such a duty of care in presenting a safe track, and the riders have come back. But yeah, you touched on it before. I've been lucky enough. I've been riding long enough that I've seen great kids come through, like Triggy. His first, I think, was on a KX60, and now he's in the top 5 bashing handlebars with the elite of Australian motorsport, or if not the world. So to watch that, to what has come out of our desert race, because there's no other race that accommodates for juniors, to give them that level pegging or that stepping stone, that's a pretty good achievement, I think, on behalf of what the guys put on.
Kenny, the track must have got butchered by the environmental factors, that torrential biblical proportion rain that we got. I can't even imagine what that did to the base that you work on. How much work would have gone into rebuilding?
So we started the weekend straight after, as soon as we were able to get on. We've probably invested in excess of 100 hours of man hours, machine hours, and I think Murray had some footage of it earlier before. It is pristine, ready to go.
Wow.
You wouldn't have even known what had happened to it last year. It's A-grade material. She's ready to roll.
Johnny was really fired up, and rightly so. We actually had damage to the circuit before you even got into the event, didn't you? There was vandals that came out and torched the circuit as well.
Yeah, that was a bit disappointing, for the and it wasn't for me. It's for the other guys that come out and donate their time, and they are only volunteers, and that's the hard part. We're all volunteers. The disrespect that was shown there was a bit hard to sort of swallow. But fortunately, it was only a one-off thing, and everybody's got their heart in the right place for this event. It's really good.
Yeah, it's a phenomenal event, Kenny. Why do you ride it? Why does it suck you back in? How old are you now, if I can ask a rude question?
55, 56 this year. Done 22 of them.
Yeah. Why?
Oh, I don't know. Since September, I've done 3,500 Ks on a mountain bike to now. Haven't ridden a motorbike for 3 months for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
I don't know, a bit of ADD if you ask Gary, probably.
There's absolutely no doubt about that.
I don't know, I just love riding it. I like being out there. I've seen some of the greatest motorsport people in the world and been able to sit side by side with them, and there's nowhere else you can do that. Nowhere.
No.
From a committee level or a team level, it's fantastic to be able to work with the whole gamut of people. And what we're creating at Hattah is the opportunity for people to get out on the track with the best riders, the best people in the world. There's no other motorsport event where you can have a C grader racing with an A grader out there for such a long period of time. That happens with the juniors, it happens with the seniors. It's just an incredible event.
And you see things that are so profound. A couple of years ago when Chucky had that win, and we're going to talk to him later in the show, where he ran back to a guy that had pushed his motorcycle for probably at least a K just to cross that line, and for Chucky to run back and catch him on the main straight and help him push it. That stuff you cannot script.
No. And it's inherent with the juniors and the seniors. If they come across a fallen rider or someone that needs help, they stop and help. And that is just absolutely wonderful that the competitors all do that.
And didn't we see that with Toby just recently overseas as well, with a horrific situation at
Dakar?
Yeah, at Dakar. And so that's inbred. That's a culture that's inbred, boys.
It is. And it's just wonderful. It's pleasing for us, and it also helps with the safety of the event because they relay stuff to us all the time. It's brilliant.
It's a super event. the amount of people that, like I say, that connect within it, and the innovations that come in this event are incredible. I mean, you look at the in lap where they come in through the pit area, they race through the pit area. There are separate lanes where you peel off, then go into a refuel point and merge them back. I mean, there's so many innovative things that this event does, and it's purely because the problem solvers are guys like these two here and the others that we talk to that are connected to this such a special event. They see it, they understand it, and they look at it from a competitive point of view and go, what's the best fix?
It is so hard to comprehend the way your pit system works. Ken, can you just quickly explain? You come into the pits.
So you come into the pits and it's full race lane through the middle. And then, so there's no backing off.
It still does my head in. There's no other sport in the world like that.
And then you peel off into a slowdown lane, and then there's a transition lane. And that's actually nothing new. The guys that invented this event or reinstated this event back in, what was it, 97?
97, yep.
That was in play then. That was how it started. And we've just made it just 3 times longer and put some S-bends through it. But the actual concept they had in 97, 98. They were doing that back then.
That's correct.
So let's pretend it's Bathurst for a second. The supercars come in right through the pit lane and they cannot get on the gas till they leave the pit lane. You guys come in wide open, transition to a slower lane, into a stop lane, into the drop area, and then back out, immediately back on the pin in a big loop.
Yep. So the seniors runs on that format, but the juniors is exactly the Bathurst format. It's speed limited. The minute they come off of through the timing loop, it's speed limited through, and then once they get to the end, they're back on.
Yeah, it's funny watching Brendan Gledhill flag them down, and the kids come. He's like,
"Hello."
Yeah, so that runs exactly on that format. But the seniors, no, if you're inside that race line, it is exactly a race line.
But it builds them to that understanding that when they do move into a senior division, that they now truly understand that pit lane deal.
Oh, yeah.
And they are right on the pin.
Yep.
And you watch some of those junior kids that just go into seniors again, and one of the greatest things for them is to actually get on that pin going through that pit lane, because they now know that they've got the right to do that. But they've been trained for so many years as juniors under the guise of what you guys do. So well done. Well done, guys.
It's an amazing lap. Let's talk about a senior lap, the length of it, Kenny. And you are dealing with every conceivable environmental condition possible on a motorcycle.
Yeah, so it's traditionally 37 kilometres. And
the winner does 8 of those, right? Yeah. Generally, the winner will do 8 of those laps.
And the best terminology I've ever heard was, I think it would have been, it was either Sanders or Milner, said the first 2 laps are the fastest you'll ever ride a motorcycle anywhere in the bush. And then lap 3 and 4, it's starting to get a bit, what the hell's this? And then by the time you get to 6, 7 and 8, it is a motocross on steroids. And that's how they sort of describe it.
And that's your biggest thrill, isn't it? Finishing. No matter what happens, Ken, you want to finish the event, right?
Up till hour 3, it's quite achievable. From hour 3 to hour 4, the demons that play out in your head, physically, emotionally, mentally, and then everywhere else, all you want to do is get that last lap board. That's all, or the finish flag. That's all you're striving to. And last year was just horrendous. It was just, there were so many people that just rode to stay alive, and that's all they wanted to do was get home.
Yeah.
Wow. Lisa, at the end of the day, what I sensed from this group when I first came to it was this overwhelming sense of pride in the event and what you're achieving. It was like when you meet someone that's had their first baby, or they bring you into their new home, they go, look at this, look at this. Every one of you committee members in your red jackets on the day and everyone involved just has this sense of pride. Is that a fair call?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. It's just such a good thing for the community to have all of the different groups come together on the day to make this event happen. And there's, in our eyes, it's world class, and I think that's absolutely spot on. It is world class. It's providing such a brilliant, safe environment for people to race their dirt bikes. And it's a whole family affair and a community affair. We can't do it, as Jen touched on, we can't do it without all the volunteer base, all the service clubs, all the other football, netball clubs, everyone involved. It's just fantastic. They all come together on this weekend every year.
Kenny, I meant what I said. In the old people's home, you'll be demanding that they push you out to do laps of Hattah well into your 90s. It's great to catch up with Gary Leeson and Ken Reid, hard-working committee members and the track builders for this incredible circuit. You're watching us live here from the Northwest Motorcycle Club, actually. Johnny Kontrec and myself. We've got some great guests coming up. And in a moment, we're going to have a look at a video clip that went absolutely world-class viral after some biblical storm situation. We'll be back in a moment. Wow. Every time I look at that clip, I just go, wow. Now, that was the pit area that we're actually talking about, albeit in very difficult and different conditions.
The full-on race lane with holes big enough to just swallow things. And people were logging on, watching this thing. You could not believe when you looked at the title, it was a desert race with a quagmire and a lake in the middle of the pit area. Like, how bizarre. Who would ever have thought?
It was like a Swamp People episode on 7, mate. We're going to have the man featured in the middle of that. In fact, he's going to join us in just a second. And we're going to run a competition today on the show as well. And you're going to need to tell us some information about that video clip. Russell Jackson is joining us from Melbourne right now, the man at the centre of that Olympic swimming pool situation. Russell, it's good to see you, mate. You look a bit drier than the last time we saw you, buddy.
Yeah, a little bit. That was quite an exercise. So I got my boys here with me. They're all a bit excited about the whole affair too. But I didn't even know that. I don't have any social media accounts or Instagram or Facebook or anything, so I didn't even know that had got out of control, that footage. And I've got friends sending me footage of, dude, must have been pretty crazy this year, you know, and making a few jokes about it. And I said, well, that's actually me, mate. So I didn't realise.
So don't tell us the number.
But it was
whatever you do, don't mention the number because we're going to ask people to answer that question about the views. So had you ever even been on YouTube or anything like that and had any sort of impact before? Now you're famous?
Never once in my life, actually. My name's been featured in the paper a couple of times for a couple of controversial things, but no, never, ever had any sort of online experience.
Wow. I think that's Jason Stewart as well, one of the local motorcycle heroes. Stu Ball's in there trying to just help drag you out. At what point did you realise, I'm not getting out of here? Our internet feed might have
Sorry, I missed that question. I've got a bit of an issue with the feed.
How? At what point did you realise...
I can hear now, go ahead.
Yeah, I can hear you okay. At what point did you realise, I'm probably not going to get out of here?
Well, actually, there's a bit of a story behind it. Because of the rain, I'd had a few electrical problems, and I got stuck out on the track a couple of times and couldn't get the bike going. And when I came into the pits, I couldn't start it. So, because the KTMs these days have only got the electric start, no Kickstarter. So I was going to put the bike back in the trailer, but the guys from Shanbuild, actually, Matt and Alina Shanks, helped me out with a pit crew that year. I turned up on my own with no pit crew, and they helped me out. And a couple of their guys just said, "No, we'll push you." So I tried 3 times to push start through that suit, and apparently I just hosed the guys when I took off, just hosed them with a lot of mud, and I didn't. When I got stuck in that rut, I couldn't let the bike stop, because if it stopped, there was no way I was going to get it going again. So that's why I'm sitting there just, revving the guts out of it, just trying to get out of the rut, because if it stalled, that would have been race over. And I'm just thinking, geez, I hope someone comes and gives me a hand, because I don't want to take my hand off the throttle. So I'm not sure who it was that helped me out, but I was really glad that he was able and obviously strong enough to drag the bike out without me helping, because I didn't want it to stall.
Well, trust me, the hacksawing backwards and forwards with the throttle wedged open and the spray coming off, and no one wanted to come anywhere near you for a little bit, because as much as there was rain and God knows what else hitting the deck, your hacksawing backwards and forwards just made it so graphic. And I know some of the shots that were taken you could see from other angles, because a lot of the other clips are floating around as well. But you could just see this tail, and there was no way knowing you were going to let that engine die off. You could just hear it. It's like, I am not giving up where it is right now, that's for sure.
No, if I would have felt terrible, actually, because it was only about 10 seconds before that the guys managed to get me started. So if it stalled, I would have stopped dropping.
It had to be conflicting for people watching. It'd be like watching a bloke getting savaged by a croc. You kind of go, I really want to help, but that doesn't look like fun at all. We should mention the elephant in the room, mate. How's the bike? Because that can't have been... If you go back, I think, to the early Terra Firma videos or the Krusty videos, there was in with the good air, out with the bad air. How's the bike?
Mate, strangely, that bike is it's the best bike I've ever had. It's a 350. I've come off the 450 and back to the 350. I'm getting a bit old, and I really like it. But it's funny, you can just punish it, and I still to this day just get it out and just I've got to clean it. I'm still cleaning it from that from that event, but you can just absolutely punish that bike, and it keeps taking it.
Well, I tell you what, it's a testimony not only to it for that, but it's certainly something that I'm sure that the guys in the factory have never ever gone down the path of thinking, well, let's just test it in something quite torrential and something quite horrific, and you've done exactly that. So a testimony to the brand.
It is actually. It's a bit of a joke, really, how well KTM have done it. I'm not sponsored by KTM. I think I'll be looking for at least a deal on my next bike now, but it's a testament to how good they are. And really, I probably wouldn't buy another brand.
Jacko, why do you ride Hattah? And where are you based in Melbourne?
I'm sitting in Kew at the moment. I get up to Hattah. It's probably my one of my bucket list goals is to ride the Dakar one day. And I figure if I can keep riding the Hattah, I'm still somewhere near shape, because it's a ridiculously hard event, and it's a bit of a physical challenge every year. You train pretty hard for it, and you prepare for a month or two, obviously, and to be able to get through it is quite a feat, and you always feel fantastic when you're driving home.
There's a lot of people, Russell, that never ever get the chance to, they ride it so many times and they're still yet to finish their very first one. So it is a brutal event, but it is something that you just push yourself to want to compete in and complete every year if you could.
I've never heard it before. Sorry, mate, you're right.
Yep, I heard one of your guests before talking about the emotions that you go throughout the race. It's interesting how early on, you ride like the wind and you feel fantastic, but by the time you get to that sort of third hour, a bit past the third hour into the fourth hour, you you start thinking about some pretty strange stuff and wonder why are you doing it?
We can probably refer to Hattah now as the prologue for Dakar. I think if we're going to use Russell's, that's day one of the Dakar as you build up on Hattah. The clip has had a phenomenal amount of views. I don't want to mention the figure because it's going to be our competition, but you're basically like a world famous person these days, Russell.
So is there any way I can use that to get some sort of sponsorship out of anything?
Well, I'll tell you what, Russell, let me just explain to you, okay? I know that there is a figure number that we will give you, and it is 21.8 million views, okay? That's you 21.8 million times splashed across the globe with what you did with testing out that KDM.
That's
done.
Miley Cyrus territory. I just want to put that out for you, mate. So you're the man.
Wow.
And on that bombshell, we might let you put your helmet on so your head doesn't grow. We might start to move on to our next segment.
You're an influencer, Russell. Great to talk to you, mate. Please enjoy this weekend because you know that you're not going to have next year this time off. Always good to catch up with you, buddy, and stay dry, hey?
Thanks, guys.
Hi, my name's Ben Schiermeyer. I work for Chad Reed. I'm going to tell you a little bit about lubing your chain. You always want to make sure that the chain's been cleaned before applying chain lube. And it's also a good idea after washing it to blow it out with air and then get some chain lube on there right away so it keeps it from rusting.
Sorry.
This way.
It's funny.
Dad.
Party purpose.
Bring your family together. Introducing Optus Family Plan with 4 SIMs and 250 gigs of data to share.
The good news is for our previous guest, the old click of the fingers came from Kenny Reid. I believe they're just giving him free entry to next year's event. So how's that? That was a quick committee decision. It was just made by Kenny. I'm pretty sure the other committee members are going, when did we decide that? Optus Communications, great partners, and they make being out in the desert actually really accessible technology because a lot of times a lot of other phones don't work out there.
Dead right there, and communication for us out there is so important. So thank you very much to the team at Optus for powering us, and they did last year as well.
Muzz is back. Juniors, we talked about how critical this class is to the future of this event.
Yeah, our idea with the juniors is that we're building on them coming through the event and going forward into the senior classes as well and into the sport. So it's a big part of our event.
And big wheel and small wheel. It's one thing I noticed sort of straight away. There's the way you differentiate right there, right?
Yeah, so the younger kids on the small wheel, that's 9 to under 12s, and then 12s to under 16s is the big wheel classes. They get into the bigger bikes, and we separate them for safety reasons, and to give them their chance at their part of the sport.
We're talking about a very long lap still. Like we're talking about 9 to 12-year-olds and things. We're talking about how long is the laps in the events?
15 Ks for the big wheel juniors. I think it's 9 or so for the small wheel juniors, and that is a big lap for young kids, but they get through it. They love it.
Yeah,
they keep coming back for more. So.
The thing that blows me away, John, is that huge lineup of them. You know, when they all form up ready to go, with Shane when he gets to let them go. That's phenomenal. The list.
Yeah.
And buried amongst them, boys, girls, the whole lot in amongst it, and it's awesome to watch them all get away and come back and complete the laps. Sometimes it's just short laps for them, a refuel each lap because they need a break. Some of them, will, as they get a little bit more experience, double them up and go for 2. But it's awesome to watch, and the parents and the kids just love it.
And the whole pit area is designed, we've tried to keep it open so that parents and grandparents can be there and watch the kids come through the pit lane, and also the spectators have got access to those areas as well. Try and build interest in the sport and try and let people actually see what goes on in the sport, because it can be a very segregated in some events where the public can't go in and watch the events at close proximity. We try and allow that to happen the best we can. Crowd control and crowd access is a big thing for us now. We do a lot of work in the background to control that.
And the other thing that I'll touch on as well, Wade, is that with the junior divisions is that, yes, all of the junior bits get run on the Saturday.
Yep.
But none of the juniors head home. They all hang around for Sunday. They want to be there for race day and actually watch the senior guys compete.
Yeah, and a lot of the seniors hang around and watch a lot of the juniors as well. That's a big part of it. Inclusion of the juniors in the whole event from Friday night right through till Sunday is a big part of it. Massive part of the whole event is to get those juniors included to try and give them the same experience as what the senior riders get. It comes from the Friday night through to displaying their bikes and going through scrutineering with their bikes, putting them on the oval, to the prologuing. Their start is the same as the seniors, and it just rolls on into a great event for all the juniors.
Speaking of juniors, we have a special guest online at the moment. We're going to head to Maxie Phillips, and I believe Maxie's going to start work this morning. First question is going to be an important one to be asked. Maxie, good to have you here, mate. Mate, where are you working this morning, by the way? We need to ask, is it Macca's or where are you working today?
I just work at the local Shell down the road on the main highway.
Pumping gas, a good, honest way to earn a living, mate. Great to have your company. We're filthy that you can't be here and that we're all not at Hattah. You would have been looking forward to this for months, I would have thought, originally.
Oh, yeah. I can't wait for that. I was real bummed when we got told it was cancelled because it's the main race that we all look forward to. It's the only one that we really want to do, to be honest. Just look that forward to it, and the nerves that we go through to do the race just is outstanding.
And Max, it must be fantastic to be able to race an event like that where the majority of what you're racing against are a number of locals that you race all the time with or ride socially to a point with. But Hattah just brings so many other juniors into that category that you compete against. It's really an opportunity to get that real measure of where you are in amongst your level of ability with all of these kids that come in to race Hattah all at the one time at this time of the year, isn't it?
Yeah, it does. You meet lots of new people there, and Hattah's the race where you know where you're standing. And there's a lot of kids all across Australia come and race it.
Max, why desert racing? You could do any form of motorcycling, I'm pretty sure. You could go motocross, supercross, whatever you like, speedway racing. Why is desert racing so special to you?
Oh, I just love going fast, and I love the sand. It's just you're just by yourself out there, really. You're just on it the whole way, and nothing can stop you.
And it does take a toll on you mentally, doesn't it? You've really got to keep focused, because as much as you're going quick and the sand's nice to ride in, the track is changing every lap, and you've really got to have your wits about you to make sure that you stay upright and you keep pinned on the journey that you need to go to complete it.
Yeah, every lap you come around and there's something different with the track. You really got to be focused and be ready to what's going to change. Can't slack off
Max, I see a lot of really cool setups in the pits and the family. So they have couches and they have furniture and they have food and they have drinks and all that sort of stuff. It's a massive strategic operation. How much of that is important from your family? How much effort do mum and dad and all your family members and your team put into your pit stall and your strategy for the race?
Yeah, mum and dad really put a lot of effort in, and so do my sisters and cousins and that. Bring down food to help. And dad's with other friends help fuel up and stock me up with food and water.
How much do you
all
train?
Get the food ready for lunch when we're done racing and prepping up.
Maxie, when you're training, how do you train for an event like Hattah? Do you just ride a couple of hours after school, or what is your training regimen in terms of bike time that can possibly prepare you for Hattah?
Well, we got a lot of tracks out the bush that are similar to Hattah. It's nice rough. So if you can learn to ride that, it helps a bit easier in the sand. And normally go up to mossy to do a bit of training with him to get us ready.
I guess you're going to be looking forward to next year already, mate. I know you got to get off to work here shortly. You want to thank anybody real quick before we let you go?
Yeah, I'd just like to thank Mum and Dad for everything they do. Moto Tech for helping me out, getting the bikes ready and all that. And yeah, everyone that helps get the event going, the landowners, all the committee for getting the track going, and yeah, for making the event possible.
Keep up with the training, mate. Only a year to go. 364 days even, all right? So we're already counting them down, so don't worry. We'll be back with you soon. Good to catch up with you, mate, and please have a safe weekend and enjoy the day at work. So without a doubt, Johnny, the nursery, the future of this event lies squarely with people like that and people with this young bloke sitting right next to us.
Absolutely. Sam Pashira, thank you very much for coming along and having a bit of a chat to us today. Would have been better to have been riding, but unfortunately can't do that. So this is the next best thing. So welcome.
Yeah, thank you for having me on. Yeah, it was a bit of a bummer about this year not happening, but what can you do? So
seems to be the common word, a bummer, from a junior's point of view.
Well, I suppose the thing is, like everyone's battling with the same issues, but I suppose for us it really is now about looking at what was last year, where are you sitting this year, what happens going into next year, because next year for us will be bigger and better, but it's great to have kids like yourself supporting this event at the level you're in. So for you, same sort of questions, I suppose, to a degree, for your family, they all come along and be all part of what this race is. I'd imagine that you guys bring a lot of gear with you. You set up a lot of things for that weekend. Do you want to just sort of run us through what is that weekend and what does it really mean for you?
yeah, so leading up to Hattah, it's obviously lots of training and everything's just sort of getting together and like getting the race bike organised and all the parts and everything you've got to get to make sure it's all running well and make sure all your pit stops are all good and figure out what you're going to have, like sort of ready set out on a bench and like you have your family there, everyone's already there, so that, like it's just a quick stop and it's just a big weekend and yeah.
So there's a business piece of it where it is the race, the strategy and how you're going to play it out. And there's also that social aspect part of it where the family are all there catering and doing what they need to do for everyone for feeds and all the rest of it.
Yeah, it's a big family effort in the whole race. So.
Is that Mum that's dropped you off here today?
Yeah, Mum has, yeah.
So I'm going to do this without notice because I think it's an interesting perspective and she's going to be looking go, no. If Mum wants to come and sit next to you on the couch, I think it's important we talk about this from a parent's perspective because...
Absolutely.
Sorry, Mum, but you can grab that microphone just there and we'll just switch you into this as well. This is a fast, frightening, physical sport. And for most of the lap, you don't even see him because he's out somewhere else. How do you cope as a mum?
Yeah, well, it's kind of a catch-22 situation. When they're riding Supercross, you can see them and you can see what they're doing. So there's lots of eye closing and you know, fist clencing. And I think he's glad that he can't hear us because there's lots of, you know, things. But when they're out there at Hattah, it's such a great race. But you only see them for that short space of time when they come into the pits. And when they are in for their pit stops, everyone's got a job to do and he's concentrating on what he's doing. So there's no chit-chat.
But the other thing I suppose you need to understand, and you guys do that as well, is the fact that even though it's a long event and they're all out in the back of the paddocks all over the place, racing at different levels, the amount of safety that's put into this event by the people that are involved with this is second to none. I mean, you've only got to look at the medical centre where we operate through there, the recovery guys that set up, people staggered around the track everywhere, all the outriders moving around. There's no safer place, I suppose, for your kid to be than at that event when they're racing.
It's crazy how well organised it is. It's just phenomenal. And, you know, if you see the sad truck come over the hill, you know, you're always thinking, when you first see it, it's like, you're looking to see your child's number or your kid's number. But then the next instant, it's like, oh, no, you know, you see it and you think, oh, who's the poor, person on there? But the safety-wise, it's just, it's fantastic. And, you know, like Gary was saying before, that if there's a rider down, the riders will stop.
Correct.
No matter where they are in the race, they'll stop and make sure they're okay.
We might have to stop shortly if the backdrop blows away. Sam, what are some of the funniest things you've seen out on the course? Because there are people basically living for the weekend around gum trees and they've got their couches and What's it like out there when you go past spectators?
Oh, you see some pretty wild sights, especially on the straights. There's a couple people lined up on the side every year that always happen to pull something out of the works. It's pretty funny. So, it's always good. You got to keep focused though, because you don't want to stare at them too long.
And you were saying before it's a mental battle, with yourself, and Maxie was saying the same thing, that you just got to be focused. Do you talk to yourself on the bike?
No, I'm pretty well just focus and try and get the job done. And what's in front of you is sort of, there's no point trying to focus on other things. Like what's ahead, you're thinking 2 corners ahead so that you can hit all your lines correct, and make sure you can sort of, you're always on the point so that you know where the other person is, and where you can push hard and where you've got to be careful. So. Yeah.
And of course, when you get into the pit area, a lot of that's that conversing really quickly while the bike's getting refueled and things are happening, where, the parents are telling you that's how far in front he is or how far behind you got to push, like it's those small bits, and then it just sends you off for another whole lap where you just got to drill it into your head. What is it I got to do now on this lap before I come back in again?
Yeah, like I think there was 2 years where I've made, 2 years where I've made positions through the pits just from pit stops alone. So it's it's a lot of it's in and out, that's for sure.
And it's amazing, Wade, to watch this guy in action when he is out there, because he knows his strategy very well. They rehearse it, they go through it, they understand it in the lead up to the event. But things change so quickly in that event, and you can see that reaction where they turn left or right in strategies because they need to make it work now, not later. It's now, push.
Yeah.
And it's interesting to hear that all happening. And poor old mum's in the background making sure that she's got plenty to eat and drink, and all the rest of the bits are all done. It's incredible to watch that little area operate, and there's so many of them all stacked next to one another doing exactly the same thing.
It might sound like a strange question outside the sport. Do you have to remind yourself to breathe? Because it's pretty intense out there and you're pretty focused.
Oh, not really. You just
That question was for Mum, by the way. That wasn't for you.
I don't know about Mum. I think it's Dad. I think he's more worried about the fuel calculations really, than anything else. So, but you can see the concentration on Sam's face when he comes in, because you can tell him something a million times before the race, and he'll come in and he'll ask you. Just something that's minutely simple, because he's so focused on what he's doing. He just wants to make sure that he's got it.
I find it quite interesting that you can tell him all week, stack the dishwasher, do this, do that, mow the lawn.
Don't get me started.
But for a split second, when it's like you got to push, boy, go, he gets that and he goes.
It's great to see, though. It's great to see the boys that, when they finish the race, though, when they all come in, and, they're all mates. Like, they're competing against each other out there, but you come once they get their helmets off.
The camaraderie when they're standing around after the event's finished, and I'm talking about right where they finish, that's incredible to be in there and amongst them and talking to them and watching what they're doing. And they are all high-fiving and, all the rest of it, because it's a big deal. It's the one event for the year that takes up so much time but is so worth being at that front end of the field. You just got to keep pushing, It's very important. It's a very proud moment for you guys as guys.
It's a great sport, and I mean they really get along. The friendships they make in it.
It's so good to catch up with you guys. You must be pumped, Sam. I made Mum come and sit next to you on the couch in front of a worldwide audience. So
the end of it.
Apologies for that. It's always good to catch up with you guys. 364 days to go. Okay.
Yeah. Looking forward to it.
From juniors and to a transition into seniors, and how does that work? Very soon we're going to catch up with one of the coolest names in the game.
Why can't I get
I love that name, Denzel.
Because it's no screen Sunday, remember?
Dad? Set time usage limits with the McAfee Safe Family app.
Gone.
Included in the new Optus Family Plan.
You know what I love? Apart from the fact that we brought Mum onto the show, she's now actually getting us coffee, which means that free entry, I think, Ken Reid, if we're giving Russell Jackson. I'm just dishing out free entries now. You bring coffee and food, lamingtons and stuff like that. Johnny, we talked about juniors, and of course there's a transition point now where they go from juniors to across the road to racing with the big boys. And Denzel Wolf, I always talk about how I love Denzo's name. He's got a pretty cool racing name. If you're going to be a racer, it's almost like a Brazilian IndyCar driver. My name is Denzel Wolf. Good to have you here, Wolfie. What's been going on with you, mate?
Oh, not a whole lot. Just hanging out, having a good time.
See how he's got his warm jacket on, Johnny? He's got rocking the warm jacket and the knees are completely bare.
You're a typical old bloke, aren't you?
Thanks very much. It's been good to catch up with Denzel. Can we just bring the Pashiras back, please? Go and get us a coffee, you smarter. You know what? Mate, it's an amazing event. We talked about that. Why did you love riding it so much, and why will you hopefully ride it again in the future?
Just because it's second nature to me. I've grown up doing it. I don't know anything else. I just love motorsport in general, and I intend to do it for the rest of my life.
Yeah, cool. What's the toughest part of riding that event?
That event in particular, it's very unique. So I'm fortunate enough, like Sam, we grew up in the area, so we know what to train for. You know, we know specifically what happens, what you need to do, how to perform, and how to do your best. Because if we've grown up around it, you know, a lot of people come from away and they don't really understand it. They think, it's just high speed, and you can get here and there's tighter sand and there's all sorts of other things they don't understand.
But you spend more time really on the pegs than you do on the seat.
Yeah.
And that's the one thing that people that come up to race this event that have ridden potentially other desert races find quite different, because it is really like a motocross event on steroids, isn't it? You're on the pegs all the time. There's very few spots, probably on that back straight and a couple of other small places where you can actually sit on the seat.
Yeah.
And trust me, that's for what, 10 seconds?
Yeah,
12 seconds?
There's a lot more to it than just sitting down, holding it flat and having the fastest bite, that's for sure.
I only have one Stephen Gall Academy of Off-Road Riding experience. I did it once many years ago, before you're even thought of, on a YZ250. Gawley told me, stand when you can, sit when you have to.
Yeah.
That was the whole goal. The speeds that you're reaching, do you get a sense of that at some stage? You go, man, I'm tapped out here. This is fast.
Well, when you're riding a lot, it's to have that in your mind is no good. You got to be comfortable. It has to feel like you're just going walking pace, you know. The moment you feel like you're on the edge and you feel uncomfortable, that's not good, you know.
Trouble.
The guys up front winning, Daniel Sanders, Chucky, all them, they don't feel it. They don't think twice about going that quick, you know.
Yeah. And it's all about really the being fluid, the motion that you need to run with, feeling balanced and controlled on where you need to. And I think the other thing is too, you know, like when you're tackling it, we spoke about it before, every lap is different. So it's how you approach that section the next time round. And sometimes you go through it and you go, you know what, didn't quite get that right. But the next time it's like, that's the line, the line. And of course, it's probably not there next lap round.
Yeah.
It's just a continual mindset to be fast and smooth without knowing that you're, as you say, right on that edge.
Yeah.
What's the difference between juniors and seniors in the intensity, in your riding program, in your training? How different are those two worlds?
I found the biggest difference was no matter where in the country you are as a junior, especially when you get to the point in the field, you've been racing with the same kids since you were 5 years old. You know, we all know each other. I could be in Queensland, I know those kids. You know, and so then you get to seniors, and it's like, bloke next to you could be 30 years old. You don't know whether you're going to lap him or he's going to smoke you. You know, it's very unknown. Whereas when you get to the pointy end of the field in juniors, it's just like, I know everyone there, I know where I belong, and I know what I can do, especially those last 2 years in juniors, you know?
Yeah.
If he's not on a bike next year, he needs to be with us to have a chat because, you're doing a nice job with this stuff, Denzel.
How do you think that's going to go? You think he's not going to be on a bike? Seriously?
Hey, the Friday night, you do the scrutineering stuff. When does the week really start for you in terms of you starting to get that excitement and starting to know, hey, it's time? Is it 3 o'clock Friday Arvo or when?
Oh, well, it's during the week when you're getting the bike ready. The last test ride, you know, could maybe like Tuesday or Wednesday, and then, then you're getting the bike ready, and then you're like, all right, well, and then it's not just the week before you're getting ready. We've been prepping for this for months, you know. We've been working on it. We've been thinking about it all year. You know, it's the only thing that's really been on my mind, like leading up to last year, I'd never ridden so much in my life. So, you know, I went through 2 bikes. I was, you know, I had all the confidence in the world. And then it was, you know, I was living, eating, breathing, you know, sleeping, just dreaming about it, all right? And then It didn't go my way, unfortunately, but which was sort of heartbreaking. But you know, is what it is.
It's unfinished business for you, Denzel. I'm pretty sure of that.
Yeah, we'll be back.
That's what I love to hear. He's a good operator, this young bloke. I always thought that. Not only he's had the cool name and the ripped jeans. Incidentally, rips were in 20 years ago, mate, all right?
Yeah,
so
right.
us old guys, Johnny probably had a pair of ripped Levi's back in the day.
Trust me, I did have ripped Levi's in the day, but I must say one thing. He's shivering. I can see him shaking.
He's going to pretend he's not cold. Denzel, it's good to catch up with you, man. You're a
Just
great
making me
character.
nervous.
Yeah, that's what it is. Good to catch up with you, mate. I hope you're back on the saddle for next year. 364 days to go, and thanks for coming in and catching up with us.
All right, thank you for having me.
Well done, Denzel.
Denzel Wolf is an exciting young man, and he does a good job on the mic too. We're going to use him next year in some form. He's doing a good job.
Good guy.
Quick break. When we come back, we're going to start talking about women in Hattah, what an important part they play, and a young South Aussie girl, Chloe Barton, Little Miss Hollywood. We caught up with her during the week.
Championships are won and lost on and off the racetrack. When performance is required and reliability matters, turn to an Australian-made and owned product you can trust. Championship winning oils by Penrite.
Sorry.
I'm just waiting.
It's funny.
Dad.
Party purpose.
Bring your family together. Introducing Optus Family Plan with 4 SIMs and 250 gigs of data to share.
Well, from Mildura, Victoria to South Australia, it's probably quite chilly there, but Johnny, normally this time of the year we are a whole lot colder than we are not right now in the middle of a desert, and it's awfully chilly out there.
Absolutely, and cold as it is, it's not as cold where we are right now, but by the same token, it is still quite cool. And I'll tell you what else is really cool. It's great to have Chloe Barton with us today to have a bit of a chat to. So, Chloe, thanks for giving us time to have a bit of a chat today.
That's all right, thank you.
You really should say Little Miss Hollywood, because I think that's actually the nickname that you run with, isn't it, Chloe? Who came up with that nickname?
Well, Peter Rossi, he's we call him Hollywood, and because we're so close to him, he named me Little Miss Hollywood.
One thing I really love on the Saturdays in particular, Johnny, you said to me, wait till you see the families that get around all this sort of stuff. And when you see that huge lineup of riders going out for the juniors on the Saturday, it's phenomenal. And there's so many great connections.
Absolutely, and the amount of families that are helping one another out to do things is incredible. And they all look at people like yourself, Chloe, and they all aspire to want to be at that level. And I mean, you really have brought in that ladies division, and we'll touch on that in a little while as well. That real drive for families to want to just get behind their kids and push this along.
You know, the funny thing is, Johnny, with Chloe, who I had a bit to do with the Motorcycling South Australia Elite Rider program that Kate Pitt put together.
Yeah.
Finally got to sort of see her in her natural habitat because we were in a classroom for the stuff that we did.
Yeah.
And then I remember seeing her getting ready and going out to the line, and she said to her dad, "Dad, make me a what?
A mountain.
Make me a mountain." And I'm like, what on earth she took? Because it was a KTM 250 ride at the time, like big bike for a little girl. And it's because you literally can't balance your foot on the ground with the bike. And how does he do that to get you stable?
It's just so my foot's like a bit higher, so I'm able to sit on the seat properly.
So he just cups a bit of dirt, packs a bit of dirt, so your right foot goes on there. I was like, that's something you just don't fully appreciate, how tiny people like Chloe can be on big, brutish machines and ride that distance.
The thing that's incredible for me too, Chloe, is to see that with the girls' division, how it's growing. The amount of girls that are racing in this event at Hattah now is just exploded. I can remember the very first time I called it only a handful of years ago, where we only had seriously half a dozen girls. Now we look at it, the whole grouping is so large with so many in it and all different levels. It's incredible to watch you girls compete.
Yeah, definitely. When I first started, there wasn't many girls, and especially now in SA, there's not many girls, but they're starting to grow.
When you first started, Chloe, how long ago was that? It makes it sound like it was a long time ago when you were a little kid. How long ago was it that you started this?
When I started Hattah, it was 2016, and ever since then, I've just kept going.
How old are you now?
17.
Wow.
Do you have any girl rider influences? I'm a bit of a fan of Mad Meg Rutledge. I just love the way Meg just carves it. She's just like pinned the whole time. Have you got any heroes?
Definitely Meg and Jess Gardner and Emma Milicevic.
sometimes I feel the girls' way deliver more than the guys continually.
Especially last year. How was last year? Explain what it was like in those conditions last year.
Definitely was very nervous before starting because my first ever senior Hattah. And as I was going, it was really fun the first half. And then I got to the second half and it was muddy, it was sloppy, there were massive holes. I was like, why am I doing this? But it was good fun.
So go back a bit. You said you first started, how nervous you were. And I remember talking to you just before then because it was on your face. It was all weighing on you. What is it like on that start line?
Well, very scary competing against like all the big boys that, especially only being 17 at the time, it was very different compared to motocross where there's only about 40 people.
The crazy part about this event too is that, fortunes can change so much. You come into the pit area and it's one of the very few events where you race through the actual pit, peel off to do what you need to do and get going again. And I mean, this year we had the added disadvantage, depending on whether you're a spectator or a competitor, of having a lake in the middle of it. I mean, it's just incredible. It's an area where normally you think it's a safe haven, and it's become a quagmire as well. What were your thoughts when you came in and saw it just like a lake?
Very shocked because like the first half was definitely dry and then the other half was just slop.
Yeah.
Do you talk to yourself much when you ride, Chloe? When you're out in the back and you've got to, do you say stuff to yourself to keep yourself motivated, or do you keep reminding yourself to breathe? Little things like that, which seems simple when you're not a rider. You think, well, why would I need to tell myself to keep breathing? But that's actually a bit of a struggle sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes I have to do that because sometimes I struggle to breathe and then I have to focus again on my breathing.
Yeah, because your body's designed to obviously work its best when you are constantly breathing, but because you're like, and you suddenly take that big breath and you're just hanging on. In any other sport, you think it's of course I wouldn't need to breathe. But yeah, I mean, what's the toughest part of this race for you?
Probably the distance of like having such a long race, whereas like the SARCs, they're 2 hours and short tracks, but Hattah's a massive long track, especially coming over from the junior side. Junior side wasn't as long as the senior side.
When you do the 2 days, that's a big deal. Like the seniors are doing their prologue on the first day, but they're not riding an entire race, right? And then racing the next day. That's a massive thing. How on earth do you prepare for that physically, Chloe? You can only ride every day in the lead up to it. Like, how do you possibly prepare for that distance?
As I'm still in school, like after school, I'll go to the gym and work out as much as I can. On the weekends, I'll ride as much as I can so I can get the bike fit for this race. But now that it's this year,
you can go to the gym as much as you want, Chloe, but bike fit is different to gym fit, isn't it?
Yes, definitely.
I know you're looking over towards Dad. He's absolutely your big supporter. Tell me about Dad. Tell me about the role that he has in your racing and how this has come about.
Well, Dad's my biggest supporter. I wouldn't be here without him and how far I've come. And he does all my mechanic work and is always there for me.
And builds the mountains. More importantly,
yes.
he builds the mountains. That was the first thing. When do you start riding again? When is your competitive, opportunities coming for you, Chloe, in this whole pandemic and downtime? And I got to say, South Australia seems to be the leader in Australia for the whole COVID situation. It's quite incredible what you guys are doing there. When do you start getting on a bike competitively again?
Well, I do have a race this weekend, but that's just a club round. But state rounds start on the 18th of July.
And of course, that's not just the enduro circuit; it's also the motocross piece that you ride in both disciplines, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Both are starting up again.
I'm sure you've got some people you'd like to thank, Chloe, that have helped you get to this point.
Definitely, I'd like to thank Dad and especially my brother for all the support they do. My sponsors: BMS Racing, Butler's Mechanical Service, Castrol, Titanium Security, Paint Tech, Utilities Constructions, MR Seats, Get Displays, Motor Adelaide, Modern Innovation Electrical, and Funnel Web Filters.
Geez, you did that well from memory.
I'll tell you what, I don't think there's any space left on the trailer. Awesome job, Chloe. Well done.
I'm spewing that we're not sitting opposite you here this weekend and, doing this like we would be out in the desert and having a blast, but I know that you're going to work on your program and going to come back bigger and better than ever for 2021 like we all are.
Yeah.
And for us, we'd like to thank you for being part of the event, helping to write the history that is this fantastic event and taking the time between yourself and your family to actually chat to us and let us have a bit of a look at what goes on inside your little part of the world. And we so look forward to catching up with you in 2021 here at Hattah.
Yes, I can't wait. Thank yous.
Hi, my name's Ben Schiermeyer. I work for Chad Reed. I'm going to tell you a little bit about lubing your chain. You always want to make sure that the chain's been cleaned before applying chain lube. And it's also a good idea after washing it to blow it out with air and then get some chain lube on there right away so it keeps it from rusting.
Yeah, a couple of Australian icons right there, Penrite and some bloke called Chad Reed. I wonder how his motocross and supercross career will work out. He actually lived just down the road from where I lived in Curry, and whenever he was back home, he has this phenomenal riding course, like a practice course in Curry, and you could always tell when he was home because there was just rows and rows of cars when it got out that Chad was home.
Yeah.
We talked to that little Miss Hollywood before, did a great job, young Chloe Barton, and her dad is a huge supporter of what she does, and what we are seeing an increase in, which is so cool, more and more women racing in Hattah.
Absolutely, and this is something that's developed over a number of years. I can remember back in the days when, Wade, in the very first year we ran a women's class. We ended up with, I think, roughly 8 or 9 girls that raced in that. To last year we ran with 55 females. So out of the 750 entrants that we had last year, 50 of those were juniors and senior women that were racing in amongst it. I think there was something like 22 senior riders and the rest made up of junior riders. Such is their drive now to want to race in this event. And the fact that we have women that are racing like, I think it's Rachel Descent. She's a mother of 5 and continues to race this event. She loves it so much. And that would not have happened if it hadn't have been for the support that MV gave us to push on and do things. And I can, at this stage, tell you that Peter Thomas, who was one of the advocates for that at MV, did an awesome job. And MV supported us so much with this event. In our women's class, and we're really lucky to be able to talk to Lauren Weaver today, who's involved with MV. So first things first, welcome Lauren.
Good morning, how are you?
We're good, Lauren. We should explain to people who are just joining us from outside our industry, MV means Motorcycling Victoria. Can you explain what your role is in Motorcycling Victoria?
Yeah, sure. I've got a few different hats in Motorcycling Victoria. As you said, I'm the president, fairly newly elected and sitting in the chair at the moment, just for a couple of weeks until we run our AGM. My role is kind of to keep the ship running along nicely. We have some, great people, all volunteers in the game, and it really is to ensure that everybody's kind of contributing and having their say and everything's going along nicely. From the women's space, I've kind of have a role looking after the Motorcycling Victoria Women's Committee, as well as being a member of the Motorcycling Australia Women's Committee. So it's a fairly broad role, and it really is just about promoting women in the sport in all different roles, from mums in the pits changing tyres and making sandwiches for their kids, straight up to clerks of courses and the highest level of officials to elite riders and whatnot. So, we've got a few really exciting projects happening at the moment to get women up there and out there into the sport. And it's I really love the role. It's just a place that I found myself kind of as a matter of evolution, I suppose. I work with women in my career as well. I work with vulnerable women in my paid employment space. So it's a really nice marrying of kind of everything I do to be able to support that space from the ground up.
I imagine that you probably watched Chloe Barton just speak just prior to us having a chat with you. A young girl like that must warm your heart in your role because her passion is so powerful for this sport.
Absolutely. I look at Chloe and her excitement and enthusiasm, and I think about 30 years ago, and I won't go back any further, but when when I was young, and racing would have been an absolute dream, but it was so far away from a young girl and a young girl in the space I was in. So to see young girls getting out there and succeeding and being able to live dreams that weren't possible 20, 30 years ago, it certainly warms my heart. Rochelle is another one. I'm fairly good mates with Rochelle, and she really is a character, and she lives for the sport and she lives for motorcycling, and it's fantastic to see her out there just keep kicking at it. She puts whatever she's got into it.
It must be really a proud moment when you talk about juniors in the girl divisions moving through, and so many that as I said, last year, we had 55 entries for women that were racing. And some of those girls in the junior class are starting at 7 years of age going through to 16. There's 30-odd kids that were moving through that eventually will become junior girls moving into senior women's classes. I mean, that's a great feeding thing, and that would not have been possible had it not have been for MV and a number of people getting behind that and helping to support us to do that.
Absolutely. We run women's only days at the Broadford racetrack for dirt and road. And, to see a track full of 50 little girls from, 3 and 4 up till the age of, Peggy Hyde out there still running around the track, it really is a celebration, and it needs to happen. It's needed to happen for a long time, and opening the doors and creating the pathways is what we're all about.
I think it's safe to say that desert racing as a culture is a fairly unique part of motorcycle riding. So it's a niche part of the sport that's so critical to make sure that we channel and we funnel young women motorcycle riders in that direction. What sort of percentage of what you do is dedicated to that part of the sport?
Well, we had staff funded within Victoria. We have a couple of staff and some state government funding to support the programs we run. That's fantastic. Look, from my perspective, we're in a really interesting place right now. We're at that place where we reform and regather every year. We really need that support from the community of women, from volunteers, to stick their hands up and say, we really want to support this, how can we help and how can we get involved? Our role is not necessarily to create events, but our role is to support whatever's happening. So if somebody has something out there that they're doing, bring it on. I'll have to throw in my naivety somewhat to desert racing. I'm from a road race background, so I'm still learning all of the ins and outs of Hattah racing, and we have some really good people within our committee supporting that and whatnot. So I'm fairly naive to that area, but I have learned a lot, and I have been involved in the dirt side of it. And those girls are tough. They're tough and they're gritty and they don't stop. And that's awesome stuff, and that needs to be celebrated.
Well, Lauren, we'll be looking forward to getting you up to Hattah next year. Trust me, what we will show you will be absolutely mind-blowing. It is an amazing event, and I think Wade can testify when he came up a couple of years ago how impressive this is. So we'll look forward to seeing you.
Absolutely. We do, it is on... Thank you, and I can't wait. I take on that challenge, and I'll be there.
Yeah, we'll get you to do a lap with Kenny Reid first, to do a lap of the course, and then that'll blow your mind. And you need to hang out with Marg as well from Penrite, because she's a phenomenal supporter of junior racing and particularly women as well. Lauren, stay safe in Melbourne, and certainly we look forward to seeing you in about 360 plus days and having your first taste of a Penrite Hattah experience presented by Optus Communications. Thanks for your time. Really great to catch up with you, and good luck with you with your new role.
Sounds awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much indeed to Lauren Weaver from Motorcycling Victoria, with that very cool role in just fostering, promoting and really furthering women's activity in motorcycling, and particularly in our race. When we come back, we have the defending champion, and we spoke to him just during the week a couple of days ago, and this guy is just so easy to listen to, Johnny, isn't he?
He is awesome.
Sorry.
Just wait.
It's funny.
Dad, stop.
Party purpose.
Bring your family together. Introducing Optus Family Plan with 4 SIMs and 250 gigs of data to share.
Well, let's go from Mildura down to Traralgon in Victoria. Beautiful part of the world down there. Down there, Sale and some gorgeous countryside. Down where a bloke that's on screen lives, and he's a fairly handy rider in Hattah, Johnny Kontrec.
He is, and believe it or not, he's not only one of the pace setters on the track, but he's also one of the guys we love catching up with off track because he's such a nice guy. And it's a big welcome to Daniel Milner. Hey, great to have you aboard, Dan.
Yeah, thanks for having me on board. You talked me up a little bit there. That was pretty nice.
I was thinking the same thing. I was thinking, geez, where do we go from this? What if he really isn't a nice guy? Mate, I got to say, you look different to the last time I saw you, Daniel, for some reason. It might be something to do with all the mud that wasn't caked on you and you look like a drowned rat.
I actually got a photo up here you might want to see.
Yeah.
There it is there.
Wow.
Yeah, we remember that.
Just hold that up next to your face, mate. You look a little different now.
I look a bit cleaner, that's for sure.
That was just... Have you ever ridden in conditions like that?
I don't think so. Like, I mean, in America, we raced GNCCs over there that was gnarly. Like, it was muddy, but it was clay. So it's like, it kind of just sticks to you and it's real thick. And then, nothing like that. Like the sand that we were dealing with and I don't know what you call that swampy stuff, like that low-lying swampy stuff that we're riding through it was definitely not pleasant on the eye, especially with, losing goggles and stuff like that. And then I've never had one of them, mask things that the girls do, but I could imagine that's what it felt like, real crusty in the face. So.
And it was incredible, Daniel, how fast it came in, didn't it? Like, we started off and it was okay. And the first lap, actually, everybody really handled that so well because there was nothing there. Then it was like, well, hell just broke loose.
Yeah, for sure. And I remember sitting on the start line and, seeing that black cloud rolling in and just thinking, it might be just a shower and it'll pass. And, like I know the team, we had our bike set up for obviously sand. So, the sand covers on the air filter and which, if we rode a mud race, would have a different air filter set up and stuff like that. So, we had, sand thinking that it was going to be just a, normal Hattah and, go out there and have fun, and we got a bit more than fun, that's for sure. Once that sky opened up, it was pretty hectic.
Well, one thing I can guarantee you, and Wade's across this as well over the years that I've been involved with Hattah since its inception, no 2 years have been the same. It's dished up so many different conditions and so many different stories in amongst it. And this will just be one of those ones that everybody will talk about, and people will wonder what the hell that could have ever happened like that. But it did, and you were privy to actually riding it. So kudos to you for putting up as much as you possibly could on the day, mate. It was pretty incredible.
Yeah, for sure. And as you said, like every Hattah is different, and that's I had a fair bit of break. I did it a couple of times when I was a junior, and then I think back when the Pony Express was there, I did it, and then I reckon I had maybe 9 years off or 8 years off or whatever it was, and then come back in 2017. And, 2017 conditions were perfect. Could not get it any better. No dust. It was just unbelievable. And then 2018, it was dry, dusty. So, different conditions to the year prior. And then last year, 19. And that was just, something else.
In the top 10 shootout at Bathurst, I've often thought to myself, why are they pushing so hard? Really, how much difference does it make? It's a 1,000-kilometre race. At the end of the day, why do you really want to bother? Is pole really that important? I don't ever think that when I watch Prologue on Saturday at Hattah. I think these boys need to pin it because it makes such a difference. When you leave that line with 400 other riders, any advantage you get is going to help, yeah?
Yeah, for sure. And the last time I did it, I know that, previous years, I think it was 2012 maybe or whenever it was, I was back riding for another brand, and on the prologue, I actually jumped off the start grid there and my tyre spanner ripped my valve out and I got a flat tyre. And I prologued like 87th or something like that, I think it was. And then I had to come through the pack. And that was a dusty year that year. And for me, that was pretty scary, obviously passing people, in the dust and not being able to see. And I think I got myself to like 10th and then decided to hit a tree and then DNF. So, yeah, I mean, it's definitely, the prologue is really important for us guys to at least get in that top 5, at least a top 3, really. I think that's the last few years, the top 3 have broken away on first lap, and that's, that's the main thing. As long as we're around the top 3, that's all that matters. But obviously, getting the prologue win, it's a bit more, I don't know what you call it, a bit more hype, and you get to, mentally, you go in there and feel confident.
Yeah, and I suppose the other thing is too, particularly when you're in a team and there's a number of you riding in the same group as such, having guys push one another into that top bracket is really what it's about, to making sure that you carry the whole team through. As much as an individual effort, the whole team come there to do so well, and you really need to spearhead that and take it where it needs to go to. So, another kudos to you guys for what you do.
Yeah, for sure. And I think just the whole atmosphere of being there for the Saturday, we get to watch the juniors ride and, and then, do our prologue, and they get to watch us hammer around. And obviously, you see some of my GoPro footage of, the prologue there, and just seeing the spectators on the track. It's pretty cool to see how many people come and watch just the prologue.
It's funny you mentioned that, because one thing I loved was seeing some of the champs do the medals for the kids as they cross the line on the Saturday. To me, that was something really special to see, that a lot of you guys take the time to do that. And a lot of them would remember, you guys remember a Toby Price or someone like that doing exactly the same with you guys. So I think at the time it must mean a lot. Mate, when you come around a tree or you're out the back of nowhere, you must see some incredible people and some incredible things. Like, do you ever have a little bit of laugh to yourself and go, mate, just helped me out a beer as I went past, or they're all going, yeah, like, what's it like out there?
It's funny because 2017, there was a chopper there that year that followed us with the video camera and stuff, and that was probably the most surreal feeling I think I've ever had, is just having this chopper follow me a full lap. And there was spots there that it was low and like knocking tree branches around and everything like that. And at that point, I didn't even care. I was just loving it that much that this thing was chasing me, and I had my arm off waving to him and carrying on like a bit of a moron. But I was that excited that it was going. And obviously being that first rider out there, that you got the people that have camped there overnight on the Saturday night. So they're out the back and they hear that bike coming, and they're that excited. You just see them run from everywhere to the side of the track and just fist pumping, and they got pit boards right and whatever they want.
Oh, do they really? You got pit boards out there?
It's pretty fun. Majority, there's a heap of pit boards, but majority of the time you can't read it because they're half, drunk or anything. They've just scribbled some crap on it anyway. So, but I mean, it's funny. There's definitely some funny things you see out there, and especially, the big straight there along the road. That's always packed. So you're normally getting a good laugh out of people dressed up in a suit there, or something like that.
And trust me, if you ever manage to break down in any of the part of that circuit, there's always someone there that's got a beer for you, a snag in bread, or something that just you're never ever missing out on anything out there, seriously, because half of them don't even know how to get.
Why do you say that? Because 20 when was that? 18, when I had my kills, my start button problem.
Yeah.
We had a problem in the pits there, and my start button ripped out, and my bike wouldn't fire. So it took us a while to work what it was, and then we got it going, and then we went. And the last thing my mechanic said to me before I rode off, after we got it going, he said, whatever you do, don't stall it. So what I do, I get to the first big sand dune, and sure enough, I come together with a lap, I crash, stall it. And just like you said, there was that many people that just ran to me and just like ask them what I need to do. And, there's a video that someone put out there, and it was like, they were all around me, and someone was giving me pliers, someone's giving me wire things, I'm stripping off wires, making sure we got it going and finished the race. So it's definitely cool to see the Hattah family and everyone that just loves it that much, and they're all out there to get us to the finish and just have a good time.
And that is really the magnetic attraction for everybody that comes to this event. And the fact that we're not running it this year through COVID conditions, there's a lot of people out there that are missing that. But I can guarantee you, like, that we've been pulling it out to say it's going to be bigger than it's ever been next year. Trust me, it will be that. People are hanging to because they're missing this year, and they so want to come back and be part of it next year. So, mate, get ready for it. It's going to be a party and a half.
For sure. I'm definitely looking forward to it. I was looking forward to it this year, and then obviously, not being able to happen, we've got another year to get hyped up and getting going again, so it'll be good.
Daniel, Johnny gave me the rookies tour a couple of years ago and sort of took me into the medical facility, which is like an episode of MASH in there. Like, it's just incredible, the medical facilities that you guys have to support. Ken Reid took me for a lap on the Saturday in the four-wheeler to get a look at how big the circuit was for the prologue track. And then Johnny took me into the pits first thing like Sunday morning and said, this is part of the racetrack. And I said, excuse me? And he said, that's the fast lane out there. There's the middle lane, and that's where you're going to drop into pits. And everyone's got their little bunkers where they're working from, and their enviromats. I can't imagine anywhere else in the world where you race through the pit area. Can you explain to people who've never seen Hattah before how that system works for you as a rider?
Yeah, it's definitely different. I know that it's funny because our Australian Off-Road Championship has now copied you guys in the whole pit setup, which previous we used to have to like pretty much do walking pace, which, you know, for us guys, it's hard because you're going so fast on the track, you're getting there and you just, you know, you're not patient, you just want to be going. So for how you guys set the, you know, the pits up, I think honestly it's definitely the best pit setup, you know, you can do. Just being able to, you know, translate from the racing line into the pit lane there, I guess you'd say, where you got to slow down into your pit and then jump back out. So you don't really lose much time where, you know, other events have it where you do lose a lot of time and it's, you know, it's costly to get fuel, which I know, you know, for a lot of guys riding different brands and different bikes out there, you know, not everyone's got the same fuel tank. So, you know, if we can get in and fuel quicker, then, you know, losing so much time being able to go in there, it doesn't matter what size tank you got on your bike. You can get in, get it done quick and get out. So that's the best thing about it. And especially for us guys, you know, getting a bit of fuel in our body and getting some food and getting back out there for such a long, gnarly race.
And the fact that it's such a big lap to complete, you get so many spectators in that main area that actually get to see you guys on a number of occasions. They get to see you coming through where the laps are collated. They get to see you through the pit area, the exit going out, and all those bits in between, let alone being out on the track everywhere. So it really is a track that caters for not just you as competitors to provide you with what are the best conditions that we can give you and all the support with the pit area, but it's also for the spectators to just love the event for what it is.
Yeah, for sure. And what I think is cool now is having the big board where you can, you know, watch and see the live timing and, you know, the tracking. I think the tracking thing's a really cool thing. And, you know, obviously being able to stop, you know, people if they do decide to cheat, which unfortunately in this sport it does happen. So, you know, being able to have them trackers on us and know where we are at all times is an awesome thing. And then, you know, when the race is getting real close, you're able to see the people battling and go from there.
Well, I know from Wade and I's point of view, you know, we rely on that data so heavily, and we can see that. And believe it or not, even though you guys are not in shop yet, we've built the crowd because we can see what the numbers are that they need to fall like. And that's when you guys get there, you hear that roar because they know you've made time or whatever it is that's happening. They are glued to what goes on. And you're right, it's so important that we see all that now.
Yeah, for sure. And like honestly, it's just getting bigger and better. And that's the best thing about this, you know, the Hattah Desert Race. It's just, it's one of them races. It's the most enjoyable race, I think, in the country. And, you know, it's only going to keep getting bigger and better.
Daniel, in motocross or supercross and other forms of motorcycling, you want to have clear track. You want to be by yourself. You want to have your own flow, your own rhythm. When you're on a track that's 30-odd kilometres long, is it a bit of a relief to actually race with someone? Like if you're at the same speed, like say you and Chucky are going at it, would you rather be on your own and having to stay mentally, you know, attacking on your own, or would you prefer to actually get out there and have a crack with someone?
I prefer to be battling with someone, to be honest. Like I'm one of them guys that, you know, you get out on your own and it's just not enjoyable. Where like I still love racing, I enjoy it. So it's as much as it is my job, and I'm all about winning. I love being out there battling. So, you know, my game plan is to normally battle with someone for as long as I can in a race, and then, you know, once it gets to the hard part, you know, the last hour is drop the hammer and you know, try to get that gap. And if it does happen, then, you know, it's that last hour is long by yourself. It's like the longest hour. It's almost like the whole race is, you know, that last hour. It's pretty crazy, but it's definitely fun battling. It makes it go, you know, being 4 hours, it makes it go that little bit quicker.
And I suppose the other thing now, you know, with COVID, we spoke about there's a lot of taper off with the events that you are racing. And that fitness piece, it's really hard to stay fit to a point. And racing is the bit that makes you mentally sharp, race sharp. and physically as well. And I suppose there's a point where you can sort of still train too, but not quite go to that last step. And I suppose everyone's doing the same thing, trying to get there and stay there. So when it all happens, you've got that smaller step to take to really be the sharp guy at the front.
Yeah, for sure. And you can never have your training as good as racing. That's for sure. No matter what you say, what you do, you can never, exactly what you said. You can't have that sharpness. So for me, I'm lucky enough that I work with Ross Beaton, who, we've got a good crew that we train with, and we pretty much try to make it as close as we can to a race with one another. And I'm training with real fast motocross guys, and then, we've got some off-road guys, so it's good. So we've got a mixture that helps us. But, with these times, we've had a little bit of downtime just to try to get away from it a bit. Obviously, you can't keep the fitness, all year long, especially with everything that's going on. We're getting false hope. We're getting, getting told that we're racing in a couple of months, and then all of a sudden another spike of the COVID happens, and then it gets put back again. So it's hard. Like, it's definitely mentally hard, not just knowing that, we have something to look forward to, and then all of a sudden it changes again, and it's just like your heart sinks. You're just like, I just want to get out there and race. But I mean, it'll pass. It'll all pass, and we'll eventually get back to doing what we love. And when we do, we'll probably take it. We'll respect it a lot more, I guess. There's a lot of guys that kind of, they. For what we do, we get to live the dream. We get to race motorcycles for a living. Some people do take that for granted, I think, and they just need to sit back sometimes and just think, how good of a job it is. And honestly, these times have made it, made me definitely sit back and just think how lucky we are.
Milne, next year you're gonna want to win this thing back to back, and you're gonna want to do it the entire distance. Like, it was biblical last year, and the weather. I remember saying to you not before it went, have they ever actually cancelled this? And you're like, oh God, no, they don't cancel this, mate. They race rain, hail, or shine. But you're going to want to back this up with a solid run right to the very end, full distance next year. That'll be just as satisfying for you, I would imagine.
Yeah, for sure. And honestly, last year I was coming in not prepared at all, and I got lucky, to be honest. Obviously, Chucky had some bike problems, and that for me, it helped me out. And just knowing coming into the event, I had no preparation. I think it was 2 months before it. It was a month and a half before it. I was in America and crashed and broke my collarbone. And then, we come home as soon as I could to get it operated on to go racing, which obviously the next race was Hattah. So I was pushing to be on the start line at Hattah. And yeah, it just kept snowballing. I had got arm problems after that. I think I had 2 days on the bike. So that for me was, a struggle. And to be honest, I was so lucky that the race got called so short. I think if it was 4 hours, I would have had snotty breathing down my neck. So, it was definitely one of them things that, I was lucky. And next year, this year my plan was there's a reason why we bought a property that's real similar to Hattah. It's because, it's one of my favourite races, and it's one of my races I want to keep winning. And, we'll be definitely coming out swinging next year. I'll be doing everything I can.
Because I know when we had the Friday night opening for the event, which is something that's also quite unique too for events like this, where it gets everybody together, and we have all those free open pieces for people to just have a look at and get to know people and riders and all the rest of it. And in that interview, you made mention of the fact that, you really had a very short prep for it, and it was really going to be a tough uphill battle. Not knowing that Mother Nature took it on board and said, I'm going to give the whole lot of you a bit of a douse and say, all right, you're probably not going to have her on your side next year, but, it is a pretty incredible story to not only see what happened, but to be at the top step after all of that. It's like, incredible.
Yeah, for sure. To be honest, it's definitely one of my most emotional wins I've ever had. Obviously, I've achieved a lot of stuff over my career that I'm pretty grateful for. And, 6 day, obviously winning a world 6 day was something I chased for years. And being able to win that was awesome. But just, the effort that we went to, the pain that I went through with all this, just this niggling injuries that I had going into this race, and to be able to finish it, I just remember, that feeling of when I finished it, and it was just like, I think I cried, to be honest. Like, I just had tears in my eyes, and yeah, it was an awesome feeling, and having my family there, and my physio that helped me through it all and get me, into the surgery as soon as we could and get everything happening. And my mechanic at the time, Mick, my mechanic, and my team manager at the time, GK. It was just an emotional win, and it was so awesome to do.
Well, if there's any consolation, it didn't wash away too much of the mud, mate. Seriously, so pretty awesome.
That's it. It was definitely, I don't think anything was washing that mud away.
You got to, mate. You got to hold that photo up again for us one more time of that newspaper headlines. Really good to catch up with you, mate. Enjoy your Sunday. Had a Sunday this time. You know what? If you were committed, you could run out the back of your yard on Sunday morning and look the same way for us and send us a photo during the live cross. All right. So the least you can do, Milty, is give yourself a bit of a facial, mate, and send us a photo. Okay.
Well, it's funny because I'm meant to be doing a riding school on Sunday, and last thing I've seen, it's meant to rain. So who knows? You might get a photo of me covered in mud again.
Well, I'll give you Johnny Kontrec's number right now.
Yeah, thanks.
Good to catch up with you, Daniel. You're a bloody champion, mate. And what a class operator too.
He is, and he's such a great guy to talk to off the track too. You're looking forward to catching up with you. The drinks are on us next time you come up, all right?
Perfect. Thanks very much, guys.
Sorry.
Just wait.
It's funny.
Dad.
Party purpose.
Bring your family together. Introducing Optus Family Plan with 4 SIMs and 250 gigs of data to share.
Welcome back to our coverage here of the Penrite Hattah Desert Race presented by Optus Communications, and it's kind of our would-be if we could be show, because Johnny Kontrec and I are here along with the hard-working Hattah committee here at the Northwest Victorian Motorcycle Club rooms, 55 k's away and a whole world from where we'd rather be. Just listen to the wildlife here all of a sudden. There's birds and everything.
Pretty awesome, isn't it?
Of course, Johnny, just because we can't have the event doesn't mean we can't have the merchandise.
Correct. And merchandise this year is a little bit different to what we've ever run every year. And if I quickly just throw over this way to Matt Penny, who's actually our finance guy. We'll have a chat to him in a minute. But he's actually got a hold of one of those tops. It's actually got the cancelled logo, pretty similar to what you've got in the backdrop here. That merchandise is available online and through a number of outlets. If you need to grab a hold of some of this, and it'll be ideal because it will be a collector's edition. Yeah. Trust me, it's the first time we've ever not run this event in the 23-year history. This would be certainly one that you want to put away in your collection for all the rest of it. And while we're here, we might have a quick chat to Matt. Matt's our finance guy, and of course, Matt, I must admit, this merchandise goes into actually being some of the fundraising part that gets put together for running this event.
Yeah, it does. It's a fairly big part of the overall income. We do make a little bit of money out of our merchandise, but unfortunately, the last couple of years, with obviously last year's weather and the year before, we struck a 28-degree day or something like that. So it can be a bit hit and miss with the merch. So, but it does, it is a big part of what we do, and we spend a fair bit of time. Jenny Halls puts hours and hours of work into it, trying to get the finished product, and I think we've sort of managed to nail it the last few years. It's just something that is a fairly big part.
Boys, you know how in the country you do the driving thing and you do you acknowledge the motorist coming towards you. I do that with all the Hattah hoodies all around town here in Mildura. When you see someone, you go, oh, you're kind of that knowing sort of thing. Yeah, you and me, Hattah.
Yeah,
you're sort of part of the militia. So it's an iconic brand too.
Yeah, no. It's funny you say that because, at a lot of motorbike events, we used to go over to SA and all that sort of thing, and, you'd see half of the people over there would have, a couple of years' worth of merch on, whether it's last year, a couple of years before. The jackets, they're pretty popular. You always get out of those pretty quick, and The beanies are something that's really taken off the last couple of years as well. We're sort of looking forward to this year's, but obviously, yeah.
And the cool part about winter now in this region here, Wade, is that everybody goes from summer into winter and they're looking for clothes to put on that are warm, and it's all the Hattah gear comes out. It's because that's the time of year for it. It really is.
Yeah.
Matt must also talk about the fact that the event, even though it's not going ahead this year from a competition point of view, there was even money that was used to put the track right for next year. That's been spent already to make sure that we are best prepped for next year, isn't it?
Yeah. So yeah, that's right. It doesn't just stop when the event stops. We've got to get the track ready for next year. We've been down there, getting a few more improvements on fences and that sort of thing are going to happen this year in readiness for next year. And there's always money to be spent because there's always something that pops up or something we can do better. So yeah, probably for the rest of this year we'll pick a few weekends and go down and sort of finish a few of those jobs off. But yeah, it certainly it doesn't stop. As soon as it stops, and we're basically getting ready for the next year. So.
And I reckon the funniest part about all of this is you are technically one of the whole shot guys, okay? Because every time everybody within the club decides we're going to do something from a finance point of view, they bail, and you are the guy that stands there and takes the whole shot. You're into the corner first because someone's got to do it, mate. Yeah. So awesome effort in what you do for the club and making sure that things go the way they need to. Everyone's got their own little piece of expertise, and your piece of gear in the machine is so important. So well done for what you do as well. It's not just the guys doing everything out on the track, but it's what happens in the background as well. So awesome effort, mate. Seriously.
No, thank you.
Let's catch up with a bloke that knows how to win this race. You can stick around if you like, Matt. You're just sort of chilling there in your gear. You can be our model. We could have picked a better looking model. I'm just saying.
We're not looking so good, are we?
Well, that's exactly what I'm saying. We're wearing the Penrite gear. On the side of the road, somewhere in Victoria, I'm pretty sure. There you go. He's rolling the beanie as well. Is 2000 and... I've got to keep going back a couple of years here. 2018 winner of the Hattah Desert Race, Chucky Sanders. Good to talk to you, Chucky. Oh, we're really hoping his internet... At least it froze with a smile on his face. It looks happy. There you go. Chucky, can you hear us okay?
Catch up with the familiar faces again?
Yeah, mate. Familiar or... familiar faces. That's probably not a bad way to put it. Where are you at the moment, mate? Somewhere where the internet is really bad is where Chucky Sanders is at the moment. And maybe it's better now. Let's try this.
Finished some sand riding this morning. Got my little... had a desert race sort of style race going.
Yeah, right. You must be filthy. I mean, you're not, but you must be filthy that you're not where we are, or at least a bit closer, mate.
Yes, I was up in Mildura last week.
Yeah.
I had the vibes a bit. It was good to be back in the town and catching up with the locals and hitting up some of the training tracks.
Yeah, mate, this time of the year... Your whole world changes. At what point do you start to really get into the zone of this race? Is it when you drive into town, or is it that Friday night session at the Oval? Like, when do you start to feel like, okay, it's time?
Probably about 3-4 months prior to the race, really. That's when the training needs to start. And that's when the vibe starts lifting. It takes a lot of effort to put in 100% for this race, and I always give it 110%. So especially last year, I put in everything, and unfortunately the weather gods ruined it. But it's a good race, and I love putting the effort in, and it's just an awesome atmosphere.
It was the one that got away for you on two different levels, though, Chucky, wasn't it?
Sorry, what was that?
It was the one that got away from you on two different levels last year.
Yeah, it was. I had it all in the palms of my hands, really, and I didn't know that it was only going to be a 4-lap race. I always kept thinking it's going to be 8 laps. It's going to be 8 laps, and then, yeah, my bike stopped just after in the final lap there, and I could see him just holding up the last lap board, and by then I'd lost 15 minutes, and then by the time I got the bike going, I lost 27 minutes. So it was pretty heartbreaking seeing that. just the whole weather situation and how the race turned out. It was still fun riding around, but you didn't get that winning feeling. And coming back through the pack at 14th place, I think I finished or something there around there. So it was going to be good to come back this year and race. It would have been perfect conditions and made a good race, but unfortunately we've got to wait another year now.
Yeah, and the whole COVID thing has really changed the face of everything across the globe. And of course, you wouldn't think a little place like Hattah would be so turned around by it all as well, but it has. And unfortunately, this is as close as we get to competition for this year. But I suppose for you, it's really about making sure that you maintain the fitness level you need and continue to press on. With any luck and things start to change a little bit, it'll open up to allow a little bit of competition, hopefully towards the end of the year or the season. And it'll just leave us in a good position to move into where we need to for Hattah next year. And trust me, the track is looking as good as it's ever been out there at the moment.
Yeah, it's a bit of a tough one, really. We don't know where we're going to be for the rest of the season with racing, so it's hard from us guys that do it as a job, full-time job, but we've got nothing to push towards, and the motivation, it's hard. Like, I've been speaking with Milner the last few weeks, and we don't know when we're going to go racing. It's just, the Victorian state at the moment is going really bad with all the cases, but then again, you can look at America and we're nowhere near that, but we've got to keep a control on it, and really it's all about next year now. The year's pretty tough. We just got to keep riding through, having fun with our mates, and keep riding tracks and keep burning parts and keep all the local moto shops in business and our industry good. So we just got to look at the positives. We can still ride a motorbike. Lucky we're not playing football or any other team sports as an individual sport, and the moto industry at the moment's booming. So that's great to hear.
I've got to say, seriously, you are one of the real stars in what goes on in this event. And not so much just as from a competition level, but just as a good all-round guy. This guy is never short of being able to be there for the kids when the junior pieces are on. He's not short of a word for anyone that's walking around in the pit area, irrespective of the class that he's competing in or they're competing in. And he holds himself so well. And I've seen some amazing things come out of Hattah and some awesome stories. One that we saw when we had a guy that actually broke down, and he pushed his bike. Seriously, I've got no idea how many kilometres this guy would have pushed. Here it is, shot the footage now. And Chucky's helping him, this guy, and he physically got the event and walked and run back all the way to where this guy was and helped push him to finish so that this guy would be a finisher. I think that's an outstanding effort from anybody to do, let alone a guy who's absolutely ridden his backside off and then decided that this needed to be done. So, mate, you are a star. You seriously are.
Oh, I just like to help out the fellow competitors. I saw him the lap before. I think he was, probably a K further away, and I was like, God, he's doing it tough. And then to see him a few people in the crowd pointed at him out, and I was like, oh, I'll go give him a hand for the last couple hundred metres. So just little things help out. So
I think the funny thing was, I don't think he realised
at the end of the day.
I don't think he realised who you were to start off with until you actually got there and started pushing him.
I think it's like you're never going to see Craig Lowndes win Bathurst and then run back down Conrod Straight and help push someone else to get across the line. So not only did the guy get a push, he got it from the guy that won the race. When did you think, what the hell, I'm going to do that? Like, when did you make up your mind, I've got to give this guy a hand? And did you know it's even legal? Like, did anybody even ponder whether you can finish with someone pushing your bike?
Yeah, you can. I've seen it happen in Erzberg. Competitors can help competitors, but no supporters can help out. So
because that could have been devastating for you, Chucky. You could have been the ultimate good Samaritan, and he got disqualified. You'd be filthy if you were the guy, wouldn't you?
I don't think he was really worried about that. I reckon he would have been pretty exhausted and just looking for a drink at the end of the line. And he probably had a bet on with his mate. Oh, I'm going to finish Hattah this year, so no matter what happens. So.
Well, don't worry. I'd imagine that all his mates are probably saying to him, mate, you got to get off your backside and actually finish this thing, and don't let everybody else push you home, right? Let alone have someone like him do it, mate. That was an awesome effort. Well done.
Chucky, we we often talk about this race because we all know what it is, because I know now, but I certainly 4 years ago heard the word Hattah and had no idea what it meant. Can you explain to a motorsport fan or even a sporting fan what you do on a Sunday out in the desert in a little spot called Hattah in Victoria? Tell me about what this race is to a person who has no idea.
It's hard. You have to be there to witness it, really, like as a competitor and a spectator as well. I think just the speed of the boys going around first lap and just everyone on the edge of the track just cheering you on, and you can literally hear the roar, even though our 500s are ripping around the track. You can just feel the atmosphere, and you just got to hold it wedged the whole time. But I think once you get there and see it, you understand, like, it's just a whole great big weekend. Kids are on school holidays, they come up the week before and do some riding, and everyone's prepping for months and months to build their Hattah bike and get it as fast as they can and set up as well as they can. So you really got to go there, and I think all my mates that have gone over the last few years, they just keep bringing their mates and even their families coming up, and it's just growing and growing, I think, and it's good to see. And once you go once, you get the bug, and it's all uphill from there.
How do you describe the start? I mean, the video footage, everyone's got to YouTube this. Everyone has to Google Hattah Desert Race start, because just the idea of unleashing hundreds of motorbikes in a system that is like funneling this enormous volume of people into one corner without any incident pretty well in the first corner. How does it work, and does it fire you up at that start? It's critical, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It's especially when you're at the front, you're gauging the pace of the race, really. So once you get in the lead, there's nothing better than some fresh air and setting the pace and just going through the track first. And you want to finish first, so you don't want anyone to pass you. So the start is unique, and I think it's very safe, and it gives everyone a fresh sort of clean, a bit of clean air. So I think it's for that mass riders on the start line, it works, and everyone loves it too. Except for if you're like second and all the way back, you're copping the roost. So other than that, it's perfect if you're out front.
Anyone behind first, it probably sucks a bit, I would imagine, with the build-up of dust. But that one system with the quad, how it just, nobody jumps because obviously you can't. What a brilliant system.
Yeah, unless you are. I've seen a few video footages of some guys getting a bit itchy and leaving a little bit early and clipping the rear of the quads. It's probably not the best thing, but yeah, it's good.
What riding are you doing at the moment, mate? Like, how much time are you able to spend on a bike?
I've probably had really 2 months off since our last Australian Off-Road Championship, and I was planning to do Think this year, and I was literally 2 days from heading up, and then I was heading up on the Wednesday, and they called Fink off on the Monday night or Tuesday. So it was a bit of a bummer. I was going to go up and do some pre-running and sort of looking to do more desert stuff. And then I normally do the Boundary Bend race and then the Oyen Club Runner sand race as well. And it's a bit of a bummer. Just shut down a lot of the desert races this year. So for what I use for a lead up going into Hattah, and it's just awesome training. But at the moment I've just gone sort of back into training, because we were planning to do the South Australia round but that's all been cancelled now as well. So it's just set the mindset back a little bit again, and just wondering if we're even going to race this year and whether it's worth going just to do 3 weekends of racing. But it's tough at the moment for us, because we don't know what we're training for, or you don't know what your goal is. You just got to push it onto next year, really, and just keep the ball rolling.
So really, for you now, it's about trying to be as fit as you possibly can within reason, so that when the dial turns where we can start to go racing again, that step from being fit-ish to being race-sharp fit, which is where you really need to be competing against guys. You don't have to step a lot. So it really is just riding and staying physically fit, and then sharpening the mental part of it when you do get, as I said, the dial back onto race competitively again.
Yeah, that's exactly right. It's just... we're not going to be at our peak like we were this time last year, but it's just going to be who's sort of been training and riding, and some people have had to go back and work a normal job again, not living the dream. So it's tough. It's been tough on us so-called pro riders, but yeah, I think hopefully, fingers crossed for next year, we get our race season back and lives go back to normal and we can get rid of this bat flu.
Chucky, you must be filthy, mate, because the whole four-wheel motorsport industry had sim racing to go to, right? Just to get their rocks off, to keep their eye in, they all went sim racing. I don't imagine there's any two-wheel form of sim racing that you could have kept your hand in either.
No, not really. There's only the PlayStation and Supercross to play on that. Really, that's as close as you get. So
yeah,
yeah, it's a bit hard. But anyway, I live in property, so I'm fortunate I can ride every day if I want. So I don't need to have to sit on a computer and race around a car track or something like that. So got it all out the back door, and I just get into it as much as I can.
Well, if nothing else, we're certainly looking forward to catching up with you next year when we do run Hattah. I believe it'll be as big as it's ever been. I think everybody just wants to come back and ride it. There are so many people that at the moment would love to have been here but can't for obvious reasons. And I think the Hattah family will just be so much bigger and better next year. Certainly looking forward to catching up with you and your teammates as we press on towards the next event.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to it more than you guys, I reckon.
Good to catch up with you, Chucky.
This morning, and I was just like, I just sort of hit the low spot. I was like, I should be racing at this time right now. We should be on the start line. We should be going full noise. So, yeah, great to catch up with you, and I'm thankful to be on this little show you've got going on. It's awesome to give back to all the supporters and the fans out there, and yeah.
What'll make you feel even worse, Chucky, is that Ken Reid said in about 45 minutes after the start, he said, yeah, well, Chucky would have just done his first lap now. So he's been updating us on every time that you would have been doing your extra lap. I really appreciate you keeping your seatbelt on for the interview too, because you never know, Johnny, when you and I are talking to people, you never know what can happen. So good work, Chucky, for safety, mate.
Yeah, first job on the road. I don't know what the drivers were like in cover, and I could have get T-boned from the side.
Be safe, brother. We'll talk to you again soon. There is the...
Righto, thanks, boys.
Good to catch up with him. There's a man who knows how to win and do it in style when he went back and did that push. I love the way you had the seatbelt on the whole time. I'm like, what's he expecting to go wrong here? Look, we know that this financially makes a huge impact on this entire region, and certainly a man that lives and breathes motorsport just like we do as Councillor Glenn Milne. Good to catch up with you, mate. We're filthy. You must be filthy, although you're looking pretty dapper rolling the jacket, I might say.
Yeah, well, I've actually just been down trying to organise to get a toilet cleaned for my kids. They've blocked the toilet up, so... but I didn't get right amongst it, but... yeah, look, it's kind of weird, isn't it? Because Hattah, I mean, that's something that I wait every year for that to come around, and not only as a councillor, just as a member of the community.
Yeah.
You know, it is one of the greatest events, or if not the greatest event, and you look forward to climbing up the sandhills and watching those guys like they're crazy. They can all ride, but the top guys are just fantastic, and you don't see that sort of riding any other time of the year. Like, they're so quick, they just like glide across the sand, and it really is a spectacle, and I love being out there. But, we sort of got robbed last year. We only had half a race, and now we haven't even made a race, and look, it probably would have been nice and muddy and everything down there too. It would have been great pictures. I would have loved being down there, but... sadly, we've now got to wait till next year, and it is a big hole out of the finances of the community, out of the clubs. But we know how quick you guys sell book the spots out for the race, and then that transfers over into accommodation in the town, and that means money for our town. And I know those tourist operators, the hotels, motels, caravan parks, etc. They'll be missing this weekend greatly, and we need it back. And for everybody that, if you haven't been for a couple of years, make sure you get back next year, because we really need you here. The riders need you here, and look, get out there while we still can, climb those sandhills and get out and watch some amazing action.
I think the really interesting thing for me is that, you know, being a local here, you see this every year and it just brings so many people back. But this tiny little place in the middle of nowhere just seems to be a city that has everybody turn up. Spectators that want to see it where the race starts, they want to be out around the track watching what goes on. Everyone has that rule of understanding what goes on. It is the event for the competitors. But if it wasn't for a club like this putting this together, that injection into the town, which is so important, just wouldn't happen. And these guys just plough on and do it every year, all volunteers and pieces connected to do their own bit, and it just creates such a recipe for success that everyone cashes in on. I think it's fantastic.
Yeah, that's right. And look, it's amazing. We've got great people in Mildura, but our motorsport enthusiasts, fans, clubs, like, they do an amazing job, and they've done it for decades. And, you know, we see the result of that. And Hattah's a little bit like the Bathurst of old. You know, you go around the track, there's people camping there, there's fires, there's barbecues, there's like people cooking roasts. You just don't know what they're going to do. Probably there's a Master Chef competition going on out there somewhere as well. Because when you go around, they've all got their little campsites and different groups doing different things. There's families, there's kids that have ridden in the junior events the day before are out playing with their Matchbox cars in the sand. Like, it's just such an amazing event. There's just this little bit of everything. And I just love going around, and I always sort of do a bit of a loop of the track to see what's going on, to see what the people are doing. And they just have a great time. You know, there's a bit of everything there. So if you want to camp, you can do that. If you want to have lunch down there and cook your dinner and have a family get together, you can do that. If you just want to watch the race, you can do that. You want to climb a sandhill. You know, there's nothing like it.
You know, it's a double whammy for this region. It's a double whammy for us this year because Easter Power Sports weekend is massive, motorsport-wise as well. And so we lost that as well. So that's actually, you think about the economic blow to this region. And I know when we submit any proposal to government for funding, it's always looked at how many nights accommodation will be provided, like how many nights people will need it. And you think Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday with a dinner, most people are here from Thursday through to Monday. So it's 4 nights from most teams.
Yeah, and plus, like, there's a lot of them that come up early and go out and get out the back of Nowinji practicing. Same with the speedboats, like the weekend before.
Yep.
There's people that get up early and they do a couple of early runs before anyone's out on the river. And that amount of money, it is, like, it's terrible to lose that out of the community. And I feel sorry for the competitors too, because, like, every year you're a year older and you work so hard, and Hattah is one of those races you want to win. And, you know, having 1 year taken out, whose year? Like, who missed out, who actually won't be able to just quite get there next year? And the juniors, they lose that year of competition, and that affects them. And I feel sorry for those guys because it's the Olympics of motorbikes for off-road here. And if you miss a year, like, that could be a year, and yeah, it's sad.
Well, from my point of view, I cannot wait for COVID to bugger off.
No, me either.
I seriously cannot wait for everything to start to shape itself and get some normality back. I want everyone to come back to the region and be involved with what we do here. And I cannot wait for Hattah next year to actually start up in the morning early, to have Shawnee do his bit and everybody else do what they need to do to start the wheels turning again. Yep. So that's, for me, is it.
And our council, like, they're right behind Hattah. We understand what it means, and, you know, funding that is given to these groups, not only Hattah but Power Sports and everything else. We're intending to roll that over for the next year, and I think we're going to have a good look at whether we can do a little bit more, because you know, we're going to lose sponsors and funding from other areas that we would have got previously, and it's going to take our communities a while to recover. But the other side of that is that I believe if people turn up, that recovery will be a good recovery, because motorsport people are a bit crazy, and, like, they'll go without a meal to get to the motorbikes, I think. So I think we'll get the good crowd anyway, and looking forward to it.
I think it'll be bigger and better than we've ever had.
Yeah, I think that too.
Yep.
What you said about, missing another year is probably true. We've got Kenny Reid, who's 55 years of age. He's probably only got another 40 hatters left in him as a rider. So every year is critical. Glenn, it's always good to catch up with you. You're a motorsport diehard like we all are. The difference is you get to wear a nice jacket and clean toilets on Sundays.
Yeah, I don't hurt myself. I get to watch it. The real heroes are the guys that are out there doing it for us, and I love them. So all power to you and you guys. Keep up the good work.
Always good to catch up with Glenn Milne, who's a really important part of councillor here in the region and a former mayor of this city, this beautiful city as well. A quick break. When we come back, we're going to wrap things up. We're going to talk about the merchandise. We're going to talk about that YouTube video clip and how many numbers that's had, and wrap things up here from Northwest on this Would Be If We Could Be COVID Bugger Off Hattah weekend.
Championships are won and lost on and off the racetrack. When performance is required and reliability matters, turn to an Australian-made and owned product you can trust. Championship winning oils by Penrite.
Oh, sorry. It's funny.
Dad.
Party purpose.
Bring your family together. Introducing Optus Family Plan with 4 SIMs and 250 gigs of data to share.
We just got caught looking at our notes just then. I'm pretty sure no one's going to mind. It was not like Mitch doing 7 Nightly News. But we do have one of our favourite faces of Hattah joining us via satellite at the moment, Jared from Penrite. I got to say, Jared, I really like our merchandise fan, mate, but I love your caravan more than anything. It's kind of my spiritual home place at Hattah, that super cool Airstream caravan. What's it doing at the moment, and can I borrow it for holidays, mate?
Yeah, mate, it's definitely sitting at Dandenong at the moment. I think it's the heater that was the most valuable part of it last year.
Always. Mate, right off the top, thank you very much for supporting us as always. The Penrite Hattah Desert Race presented by Optus Communications. We're really missing Marg this year, mate. Johnny and I love our chats with that amazing old lady.
Mate, she's definitely the number one Hattah fan and certainly the number one missing it this year. I think I've had probably 15 to 20 conversations in the last 2 weeks with Margaret about the event not going ahead, and obviously her continued support for the area and the club, and obviously all the individual riders. She's certainly missing not being there. I think she likes that weekend away every year with you guys.
Oh, well, what's not to love, mate? I mean, you get to spend it with some of the best, desert racers in the world, and you get to hang out with Johnny and I. The couch is pretty nice. We need to look in some sort of a Penrite, TV lounge situation using your caravan next year, because this idea is pretty cool.
Yeah, it is cool.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's the interview lounge suite looks pretty good idea. I think, as long as it's waterproof.
I'm devastated. Yeah. Well, yeah.
Good one.
Maybe we could make it an inflatable lounge. I did mean to bring in my Penrite mugs. A mate of mine sent me. He had a Penrite Sprint Car Team sponsorship down in Tasmania. You've got these really cool little oil drum Penrite coffee mugs. They're really cool.
Yeah, we do. We got them in, I think, late last year, October. Sort of Bathurst was the first time we had them. Yeah, so little replicas of our oil range from 1930s. I think we've done the green one, the white one, and the modern black one.
Yeah.
So yeah, they're pretty nifty.
The green one's my favourite, mate. Looks very, very cool. How is Penrite going during this? How has this COVID situation affected your business?
Look, obviously we're a family-owned business. Obviously the Diamonds are very involved in the business. I think, like everyone, obviously there's been a great amount of struggles, and I think everyone's just trying to do the best they can to get through this tough situation. So we, all banded together and obviously made some choices to protect the business and try to work a bit smarter. Just make sure we're all here at the end of this and going forward and protecting our staff and our customers and trying to do what we can, like everyone else, I think.
And I suppose the other thing too, Jared, is that, from our point of view for Penrite, it's an essential thing to keep the wheels turning for industry. We've got transports moving things backwards and forwards and all the rest of it that's going on. Penrite, a big part of that, making sure that they keep the wheels turning for the country. So well done to you and your team for what you're doing.
No, thank you. Yeah, we're obviously involved in essential services to a certain extent, and obviously involved, as you said, a lot of logistics, a lot of behind the scenes things. So obviously, the retail world, obviously has been affected, but obviously our trade partners and workshops around the country have been pretty heavily affected, and as you said, a lot of logistics businesses have been affected. So we're just trying to support them as best we can, and obviously, there's certain rules about social distancing with us and reps on road and a few challenges, but luckily these days we've got some technology that we've really invested in to support those guys doing the job to help the customers.
Jared, now that I'm not a rookie, a couple of years ago I had never been to this event, and when I first went there I went, wow, where has this been my whole life? There's someone I really want to have that experience with is David Reynolds. I really want Reynolds to come and stand down next to us on that start and go, you know what? You're a pussy at Bathurst, because we start 400 people in a paddock.
And full noise through the pits.
And full noise through the pits. We've got to get Reynolds there. It'll blow his mind, won't it?
Yeah, no, he's definitely keen for it. We have approached it a couple of times. It just obviously falls normally the same week, the weekend prior to an event, so it's sort of between two events. So it's always a bit difficult, but he does have great interest in coming. We have poked him a few times to come up, so he's definitely keen. He actually does ride bikes, so he's pretty keen. He's a bit scared of off-road though, but we'll try for you.
The Penrite range of products is obviously very, very closely aligned to motorcycle riding.
Yeah, obviously that comes from the passion of, obviously, as I said, we're family owned. So Margaret, obviously, and a few of the boys were very actively involved in motocross and supercross as well, but and also road racing. So they've really been actively involved in racing for the last 20, 30 years. So they really do invest a lot of the company's time and effort in development of products, and it's really quite important to them. We support motorcycling.
Yeah, it's a great fit. Mate, the wind is blowing through here at the moment. It's a bit like Hattah. It's as cold as the mother-in-law's kiss sitting on this couch at the moment, but at least you look nice and toasty in the car.
Well, it makes you feel better, boys. I'm obviously on the Mornings Peninsula, so it was nice
okay.
10 minutes ago. And about a minute and a half before this started, I got a bit of rain, so I just jumped in the car quickly, but I had a nice area set up, but typical Melbourne. It's perfect until you need it to be perfect, and it pours with rain.
Okay, he wins.
Jared, we can't thank you enough for your support. I think everyone on this committee would say that without Penrite's support, Hattah couldn't happen financially. It desperately needs that alignment with you and Aussie family-built companies that have been built since scratch. It's such an important part of what we do.
Yeah, thanks, guys. And look, we really, really, really love the relationship we've got with the club. Not just the members beyond that, but the actual club committee and all the volunteers. Do a great event, and anyone out there that hasn't been before, I strongly suggest you make the trek up here and you're there next year, because the community needs support, the riders need the support, and it's a great event. So I really do get behind it. It's fantastic.
Really looking forward to catching up with the Penrite family when they come up again next year. And I keep saying it, and Wade and I have said it all morning this morning in the broadcast we've been doing, that it will be probably bigger, or if not the biggest that we've had going into next year. So again, let's make sure COVID buggers off and we can actually get back to doing what we want to do in the right environment, eh?
Yeah, that sounds great, guys. I know we all want to get on the other side of this thing, so I think we can all just support each other and and get through, and as I said, show our support at the end of this and make sure that everyone's there next year and on the starting line.
Hashtag Penrite not pandemic. All right, you can roll with it. You can roll with that one if you like. Okay.
Yep, no worries. Sounds good, guys.
You stay safe down there in that Melbourne area there too, Jared. You're a great friend of ours and a great mate of this event, and we need you.
Thanks, guys. Really, as I said, once again, appreciate the support, and we'll see you all again next year, and make sure everyone else is there that hasn't been before.
Well done, Jared.
Yeah, it's a good man, isn't he? And very passionate about what he does. And he always brings his sales team out there as well, along with Marg as well. And they do a great range of merch, as well as the actual practicality, the lubes and the oils for the chains and things like that. It's so important part of what we do.
Absolutely.
Time to wrap things up and talk about what we've got to. Let's go a bit of a recap here. The merchandise is still available. You can get that through the Hattah Facebook page. There'll be links put up for that as well. The cancelled
the merch will actually go through the hattahdesertrace.com.au website. So if you want to log on to that one, that's where you'll get your merch through.
We should review the YouTube clip how many views that it had? It was something like 21.8 million or something along those lines.
21.8 million is correct.
That's like Miley Cyrus territory, I've been told. I don't follow her personally. So get across that incredible video of the kickstart attempt in the swimming pool.
And the competition links for that one are actually on the live feed comments through the YouTube comments as well. So if you're looking for that for the competition piece, that's where you go looking in the comments for that one. Great opportunity to thank a number of people that have been involved here this morning. Of course, the Living H Live guys, thank you very much for your involvement. Real Air Imagery, thank you very much for your connections. Must also go down the path of thanking the team at Optus for all of the work that they've put in to help us out with all of this. And also the team at Penrite, Jared and his team, thank you so much for your involvements as well. And a big thank you must go to all of the ongoing sponsors that we have for this great event. Even though we haven't run it this year, each and every one of them, Wade, is still in the background doing their bit to make sure that we continue to march on solidly as a team for next year. And you can see we've had a wonderful backdrop here with a number of other sponsors that are all linked in behind the back of it. Each and every one of those groups have given us something to help us out and will continue to support. And it's so important that we get you all back here next year for Hattah. I can't wait for it to open up and go again. It has been a pretty amazing day today. Certainly one that I've never experienced in the better part of 23 years. It's always ever been something live and going out there, even though we did get washed away last year. This is so different. It's okay. For me, it's not really what I want. It's what I want to see, and that's what it's all about for next year for me.
Great little team of people. The committee have worked really hard on this. Topher's done a great job. Tex and everybody else. I really wanted to end the show on a drone shot because that was really cool, but I think Tex has already packed her up and put it in the van. Wonderful job by everybody associated with all this. We can't wait. Stay on the socials. Stay involved in the page. Like the Hattah Desert Rate page. Like the Penrite Oils page. Like the Optus page. Just help us support the industry, Johnny. I think that's the way we need to do it.
And a big thank you to you, Wado, for coming down and getting involved with it this weekend as well. It's been awesome. Always good fun with you.
Thanks to Fossies for letting us use them. And thanks to Mrs. Brashira as well. He went and got us coffees before, even though Jenny lambasted me for having a macchiato. She was like, oh, what? It's only like that, Si. It's pure coffee. Real coffee drinkers know. Good to catch up with you, mate. It's freezing cold. Have a great what's left of your Sunday, everybody. On behalf of Johnny Kontrec and the entire Hattah committee and also the folks here at the Northwest Victorian Motorcycle Club, it's Wade Orn just saying goodbye. Don't forget to share this, and we'll catch you in 362 days, I reckon, by the time we start the Friday night scrutineering.
Like the sound of that.
Have a great day, everybody.
Hi, my name's Ben Schiermeyer. I work for Chad Reed. I'm going to tell you a little bit about lubing your chain. You always want to make sure that the chain's been cleaned before applying chain lube. And it's also a good idea after washing it to blow it out with air and then get some chain lube on there right away so it keeps it from rusting.
Hey, darling. So I was thinking maybe we could all go out for dinner.
Oh, I wish, but I need to finish this prezzo.
Oh, that's cool. I'll just take the kids. Okay. All right. Bye. Thank you. But can I get
Champagne, sir?
Yeah.
Bring your family together.
What?
New Optus Family Plan includes 4 SIMs and the McAfee Safe family app.
Championships are won and lost on and off the racetrack. When performance is required and reliability matters, turn to an Australian-made and owned product you can trust. Championship winning oils by Penrite.
Why can't I get online? Because it's no screen Sunday, remember?
Dad? Set time usage limits with the McAfee Safe family app.
Gone.
Included in the new Optus Family Plan.
from the mud. There's dirt on my hands. Strong like a tree. There's roots where I stand. Oh, I've been running from the law. Hope they won't shoot me down soon. They sing on a sleepless night. Try to catch me howling at the moon.